see us.
Okay.
Hello, chat. Hello, TGA.
Oh shit! Pocket Train 1.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
How are you 4 days, 5 days, 4 days behind?
Well, I haven't kept up with them. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Habu Gabu made top 8 again. Gabby made
I
top
did
4.
hear that.
Yeah,
'Cause you
Gabby
mentioned
top
that on
4.
podcast.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was. I mean, it wasn't at weird hours in esports time, but it was at weird hours for like, having
Weird
a
hours for
day
people
job.
that aren't me and Edelweiss.
Yeah.
Look, I
Good.
have been in Londo, so it's Dark Souls all the time.
Well, fair.
It's
Blighttown,
so once you get to
Blighttown was annoying, but-
Blighttown. What?
Oh, that was ages ago.
Oh, we're veterans now. Clearly.
No, I'm in Anna Orlando now.
Oh, beautiful. Say hi
Well,
to the archers for
that's
me.
why I didn't understand what you were saying. I thought it was just
that
my
that
hearing
is what I'm
going 'cause
stuck. That is
old.
the hardest thing for me so far is these two archers, and I'm just like, how do I do this? My brother
Well,
says try
yeah.
a claymore.
You're just
so.
saying names that I don't recognize. That's much better than me losing my hearing. So
You have to
imagine
run up the battlements of a big
giants-
church while you're getting shot
giants
at.
with archers.
Yeah.
I thought they were throwing lances, and my brother's like, no, they're archers. They're just
Yeah.
giants, so the bows are large.
Also, if you feel safe when you make it to the top, you probably shouldn't. I won't say anything more, but
No, I did not feel safe. I then tried to engage, and
You tried to fight a Silver Knight, huh? Don't do that. You don't do that.
No, I'm going to. The last time we both fell off. So as long as I can make just them fall off, we'll be okay.
sounds like American Gladiators.
Yeah, my brother says that the L2 of the Claymore should be enough to stagger, so we're gonna try that next.
Yes, let's do a heavy attack on a narrow ledge while being shot at by archers. That'll go well.
It's fine. It's fine. It's
What
fine.
could go wrong?
Yeah, whatever.
What could possibly go wrong?
It's not like heavy weapons have a low center of gravity
I was really
or whatever.
upset because I was like, archers, huh? I can win an archer duel, except that I wait until they've fired a shot that should plunk into the wall, and then I step out and it hits me anyway. And I'm like, that is some homing nonsense. Like, if they've already fired something that's going to miss, it should still miss when I step out from behind the wall.
So, in case you're confused, take out the box the game came in and read the title, and then you'll understand what's going on here. Like in the newer games, Miyazaki's mellowed out. In the older ones, his hatred was pure. He did not want you to be happy. He wanted you to suffer, and he was good at it.
That is not true. He wants you to get better. He wants everyone to be able to like hone their art and get better at these games, and for everyone to be able to play them. Oddly enough, the Miyazaki who's a jerk is the one who makes the Studio Ghibli films.
Excuse me? What? Hang on.
Hayao
Hold on.
Miyazaki?
I feel like there's like blasphemy incoming.
No, he's a real jerk. Like he went to his son's like premiere for the first time his son made a film, and was basically just like, yeah, you've got a long way to go.
Oh.
Like,
Okay, so he's a tiger mom, but okay. I don't know. I guess I'm realizing that I don't have interest in the Souls games because I spent most of like when I was 10 through 12 playing Battletoads. So I've put in my time.
Elden Ring has save points. It's way more respectful of the player's time by a large margin. Like, I'm not going back to play the Souls games, but I really enjoyed Elden Ring because it did a lot of things differently in a player-respectful way that the older games really don't do. The runbacks in particular are so much worse in the older games. The runbacks are bad.
I have found that often you can get a shortcut that shaves things down considerably, but yes, it's not like the save point is right next to bosses.
Yeah. Grey Lego got it right. Elden Ring is an actual game I'll recommend to people.
Yeah.
Yes. As opposed to the Souls games where, like, the people that should
You
play
have
it are
to
the people that I
know
tell
the
them
kind of
not to and they
person.
do it
Yeah.
anyway. Those are the people that should play it. It is Matt for a second. No, we're going to talk about Hearthstone here in a second. We're all just getting ready.
Yeah.
By getting ready, I mean I'm not really doing anything other than filling in OBS here. Okay.
So
I mean,
so I
I
guess
recorded.
I did put a decent amount of time into Returnal lately, so I guess that's kind of like not quite on
That
the same
game is
level, but
hard.
it is. And
That game
it's
is difficult.
yeah, that's that also is like I would play that on the bike because I knew my run was not going to last longer than half an hour, not even close.
I think I had required more runs to beat most of the Hades bosses than to beat most of the Dark Souls bosses.
Probably
well, but
true,
Hades
but
is designed that way though. I mean,
and the
it's
game,
designed
the
so that
runs
you're
are
supposed to
real
fail.
fast. Yeah.
Well, not for me, but
It's so. Have you tried using the dash button? I think we could really work together on this, and you could use the
I
dash
dash away
button.
from things so I can shoot them. That's
Ugh.
which is actually how I beat many enemies in Dark Souls as well. I shoot them in the head, which staggers them, and then as they're regaining the composure, I fire so that by the time their head goes back up to the same spot, they get hit again.
You can't
That's
play
how I
with
beat
fear.
Kellag.
Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration.
No, that's Rez. That's not Dark Souls. That's Rez.
I like that game too. I played the crap out of that game in my
That game is
Dreamcast.
very good.
Yes. Okay. We should talk about Hearthstone.
Sure.
Let's see here. Monster
No,
Hunter.
Tierney, that was me that
Yeah.
brought up Monster Hunter Rise.
Too many
So-
mechanics, too many numbers. All right.
I'm not gotten to the point where I can play Sunbreak because I'm like way too early in the game.
I just brought up that many people like me enjoy the Monster Hunter franchise, and so I'm like, I don't need another franchise that I know I will get into too much.
All right. So do you all have recordy stuff up?
Oh, I should do that. That's a good idea, actually.
Yes.
Like recording the podcast is actually like a thing we could do. Okay. Just test it real quick and just make sure it's doing the thing. It looks like it is. Okay.
All right.
But yes, Monster Hunter is very fun, and I enjoy having my cat and doggo friends chopping
Yes.
up the monsters with me.
The amount of energy that game puts towards dressing up your cat, I respect it. I respect it. It's a major mechanic in the game. Is how you dress
Well,
your cat.
there was a controversy recently because they just did an update. They added DLSS, except that apparently there's something weird with the way that it renders. So like, if you turn it on, all the cats look like they're shaved
Oh no.
because it doesn't render the fur correctly. And so yeah, so they're like, no, don't ever turn that on until they fix it because shaved cats are kind of terrifying. Don't do that.
Okay. This is getting weird. Let's do the podcast.
Yes.
I am
Okay.
recording.
I am also
Recording.
recording.
I am now testing my recording. Okay. We're good. We're great. All right. Is my soundboard open? Yes. Yes. I think I did everything I was supposed to do. And if not, we'll figure it out. All right. Starting to clap. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Starting the show in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you. Never lose hope.
Here for a chat.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, friend.
Stop. Hello and welcome to episode 351 of Coin Conceit, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, the 7th, July 7th, in the evening. From Gadsden, New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Nomergon, Ohio, it's Edelweiss. And from Northern Massachusetts, we have Wicked.
Hi.
And from where you are, listener, we have you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a couple extra special patron shoutouts. Number Theory, thanks for upping your producer pledge again. You crazy person, thank you so much. And Deck Tech, thank you for your support and also for being Deck Tech. You're wonderful. Thank you so much. And listeners, reviewers, thank you so much for leaving your reviews. We're going to get to a bonus episode eventually, but I'm not going to commit to a date and a time because I'm going to be trapped in Asgard this weekend. So we'll figure that out after Thor lands. It's going to be a thing. Life and Ladder. There are a bunch of letters here. You both use different letters. Steve, you get to go first. You used E and Z.
Yeah, easy quest priest. That has been basically all I've been playing this week. I started getting. I didn't do my stream Friday night because I wasn't going to counter program the Masters Tour, and I was just kind of playing a bunch of things the first couple of days, and I dropped down to 10x, so the climb was a little bit slower, and I was spending the first couple of days just trying to figure out what to play and failing at a lot of it, and then I just decided, you know what, it's July. We're a month out from the expansion. I'm just going to live my best life. So Meaty had posted a quest priest list and he said, this is good. I got, he posted a guide with it. So I knew it wasn't bait because sometimes Meaty just posts lists. But when he has a mulligan guide and a gameplay guide, I know that it's legit. So I took it. I have my own very specific feelings about quest priests. As some of you know, I've spent a lot of time playing it. I've brought it to THL when I absolutely should not have been a couple times. So I'm extremely familiar with how to build it. And there were a couple things that I didn't like. I hate Amulet of Undying in the list. It just makes no sense to me. In general, I want cards that you can tempo to get the quest done. But Meaty also said that he was playing it more for tempo with the quest as a backup, and I tend to play it more as a control deck with the quest as more of a primary win condition. Though, I mean, I guess the secondary win condition, because primary win condition is my opponent deciding that they have better things to do. But so anyway, so I cut that and I started playing it. He has Sir Finley in the list, which I really, really like, and I'm kind of mad that I never thought of it, because what it does is after you finish the quest, right, you've generally got like 10 to 20 cards in your deck, and either it gives you the shard right away, or it's in the top half of your deck because everything that's in your hand goes to the bottom. The problem is that Mita is in the list, and when Mita's Death Rattle has the word shuffle on it. And I had a couple of games where I had played Finley and I was expecting to draw the shard and I wasn't. And I looked at my deck and I looked at the Mita and I said, that's not right. And then I realized that I was generally unhappy whenever I tried to play Mita. And I was generally unhappy with the result whenever I played her. So I cut her. And my win rate shot up. Like it wasn't even like I've been at like a solid 40% with the deck. Literally as soon as I took out Mita, I went on like a 9-game win streak. It was ridiculous. And the only other thing that I ended up doing was, so I put in a Spammy Arcanist and then I took out Korak for Okani because Okani is a broken card. I think that's the Vicious Syndicate report that came out today said they were doing the same thing. And yeah,
in a big spell meta, you really want Okani because it just eats an entire turn of theirs. And for reference, if you're playing against Big Spell Mage, pick Minion when you play it on curve because they have to test with the coin. Because if it's spell, they lose. So they test with the coin and then they play a minion for their whole turn anyways. And so you eat both. You eat a spell and a minion. It's awesome. Yeah, fantastic. 10 out of 10.
Prestor Druid too, because Prestor also they play R on 6, so you can play Okani into that turn. And you can at least buy yourself a turn. The Prestor Druid matchups generally come down to how many Kazakhstans they generate. If it's 0 or sometimes 1, you can win. If it's more than that, probably not. Though I did have a game against a Prestor Druid where they had I don't remember what they had on board. They must have just had a bunch of crappy dragons left over, and they Canopic Jars the board. And then on the subsequent turn, they traded a couple of them off and Canopic Jars again on the same turn that they wanted Disintegration. So I just Murazonded and laughed.
Oh
And
boy.
and yeah, I won that game. So that was that one felt good. But yeah.
It's hot in here.
All right. Like Murzad is like you hold Murzad as long as you can against Prestor Druid because eventually either they're going to give you something really good off of Trazakasan or they're just going to play a bunch of tiny minions and then you Murzad and you get the full size ones and not the fun size ones. So, you know, there was one game where they played like double Brasswing and a bunch of other stuff and I just dropped Murzad and I just had like a Battlegrounds board. All of a sudden it was fantastic. I was the dragon comp after that. So
I'll tell you, I have played a few games of this deck, Steve. And I like this deck except for one thing. The
Yeah.
average game duration in minutes and seconds. Not
It
number
is
of
very long.
turns, number of minutes and seconds, which I guess it correlates pretty directly with number of turns, but you generally know when you've won. But I've noticed when you're playing Priest, your opponent does not give you the benefit of the doubt. They strongly encourage you to go through the motions by staying in the game. However, I did enjoy, against my Quest Hunter opponent, Murazonding their Raj Nazjan and then killing them with spells. It was...
Oh,
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I burned the quest reward. I burned 5 mana Zyrella, and it didn't matter because he just killed them next turn. It
Yeah.
was all right.
yeah. And yeah, it's the thing is that like once you get used to the deck, like your turns are short because you're generally playing one card a turn or maybe two. It's the opponent's turns that take forever because they're playing a million dragons or playing a rune of the Archmage that takes forever or being a rogue or whatever it happens to be. But yeah, the game length does take a while, but you know, if you're winning at 65%, which is what I was winning with up through Legend, then I'd rather have longer games and win more of them than go 50-50 on a deck that's faster. So yeah, I took that up to Legend. I played it on stream and had a 70% win rate on stream Monday night, and then I took it up to Legend. It took me till like Wednesday because I kept getting like this meta has just like a bunch of Barnes games occasionally. Like sometimes you just get Belinda Dawn 6 and you don't have the exact answer, or you just get Prestor into immediate Kazakhstan or something like that. So there were a few of those games where I just kind of got bounced down and had to climb back up. But yeah, I am really liking it. And if you're struggling with deck, first thing, try cutting Mita and see if that helps you. Because I'm pretty convinced that Mita shouldn't be in there. And certainly like the thing that I liked about Mita's list originally is he doesn't run any of like the Deep Run Engineer or Tuskar Trawler or any like these garbage 2-drops that don't really do anything. They're just kind of more value that you're getting out of them. Like Deep Run Engineer almost never procs the quest just because there's so many like 1 and 2 cost minions or even 3 cost minions. You get discounted and you've already played a 2. So like you have to get like a particular minion and it just doesn't work out. A lot of the time though Call the Grave I came around to. I didn't like that originally. And that's kind of, even if you're just like drawing a card off, like getting a loot hoarder or something like that, it feels pretty good. So
I had a game
play
where
Priest.
I was against a druid, and they had a 9-card hand, and they called the grave, and they took a shellfish named Elder Kazakhstan, and they were no longer interested in playing out the game. So yeah,
Yeah.
I always make the mistake with Call of the Grave is that like I view it as forbidden shaping, where it tries to match the amount of mana that you have, and it super doesn't. And you can have 9 mana left and pull like Naval Mine, Loot Hoarder, and the Quill Board that gains you life or whatever. But you can also it's 1 mana where it's kind of a tracking plus, where you get something good and also get a bonus effect, and that can be really nice. And it's a shadow spell for Netherdrake, which you know, I'm reminded when I play that card, that Dustbreaker card, pretty good, pretty high quality, goes places.
Yeah, I had a different game where I was playing against a hunter. I took their Sunken Saber with Magic Hexen and then Dustbreakered it and summoned my Blackwater Behemoth. Your turn.
Okay, you won that game.
Yeah, that I won that game too. Yeah, the game it's fun. It's a different. I mean, that's why I like control decks because it's kind of a different thing every time. A lot of the time because you have to you're not kind of following a plan. You have to react to what your opponent's doing. So that it kind of keeps me a little bit more engaged. But I mean, it's no secret that I love Priest, and I've been trying to make Quest Priest work in different forms for a while. So I'm glad that I finally like landed on a list that feels really good to me.
Yeah, I like it except for how long the games take.
Yeah.
But what you're gonna do? It's
But
priest
did you
things.
win? So, if you won, then
did.
you had fun.
Yep. Edelweiss, how about you? You've been playing some Edelweiss stuff. You just go. Let's talk. I saw
know,
the XL, which, by the way, we have to shout out right now. We have to do a shout out right now. MMJ in our Discord figured out that XL is the Roman numeral for 40, and XL stands for extra large in English, and said, hey, let's call them XL decks. And then Donkey, who runs the website donkey.top and does other Donkey things with Hearthstone data, said okay, and then just put XL on all of the Renathal decks on the website, and it has now officially stuck. Like, people are making tweets about like hit rank 1 legend with XL Quest Hunter, and it's wonderful. And MMJ came up with that in our Discord, and I could not be more proud. And MMJ, you're very clever. So I
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely. I did not know that story. I also didn't realize the Roman numeral part, just the extra large part, and was immediately like, yes, this is correct. This is what we should be using, because it's just so much easier than saying, 40 card or Renathal, right? Like, it's just, we need to cut things short. So yeah, XL, great abbreviation. Well done, MMJ. So I've been playing XL Holy Smite Paladin, which on the first blush you would say, well, but Holy Smite Paladin requires particular cards, right? You're trying to buff up a smite and kill them with it, so you want to cycle through really quickly. It's like, I hardly ever win with Mr. Smite at this point. Like, it's there, it happens sometimes, but most of the time, this is just like a buff, not even really buff deck, right? But just sort of, you play stuff for tempo, and you have really efficient minions and synergies. Obviously, having access to a quality pyro or quality city tax is great. I have found that I need to be careful about trading the city tax more, because you're not going to get it back necessarily. But it's been very much just I want to play stuff on curve, and I always keep the quality because it's so unique. You have to mulligan in very particular ways depending on the matchup. But I love having Varian in the deck. And so I find that I actually, it's felt like my draws are better than with the regular list, because with the regular list sometimes you run out of stuff. Maybe you played your Vitality Surges or whatever, but there's nothing that gives you like a bunch of cards. Whereas this, I have Varian that draws me 3 cards, and I have double Myrmidon to go with the Holy Maki rolls that can get me a bunch of cards as well. So very seldom do I end up gassing out with this list. And, Varian, still a great recipient of buffs and light rays as well. I usually save my light rays for a turn where I clear their board and then I plop down the light ray rather than just playing it as soon as I can. And so very much about swing turns. I hardly ever Garden's Grace for a lethal on a smite. Like, that's just not what I do. Again, it's an option, but usually I win through just like controlling the board and finishing off with big taunty or divine shield-y minions. And I have a
surprised to hear that
Zharin
as well,
Sentinel.
because you're so much less likely to find Cariel. Like, you need to find Cariel quickly in order for Smite to be a thing, and they did nerf both Smite and Cariel, so like that combo is just slower, even if you were to play the 30-card version.
And it does hurt if you get the Cariel particularly late, but the minions are reasonable on their own, and you can still get things buffed up pretty large from Righteous Defense. So that'll happen sometimes. And sometimes all you need is an Alliance Bannerman buff onto a Blade Master Samuro to like swing things back a little bit. I do have one consecration just because you want more things to be able to be used with equality, right? So you're not like, well, I have this equality, but nothing to go with it. But yeah, the most unique thing is probably the Zharin Sentinel, which I've been on the fence about, but honestly, it's felt great most of the time, because then the Varian just always has all the keywords.
Oh, is that the one that gives you like a 5/6 Divine Shield taunt lifesteal?
Yes.
At the bottom of your deck?
The lifesteal
yeah.
has been relevant more than once.
I've gotten that a couple times off of Call of the Grave, and then dug it up with Finley, and it surprised me. Not enough for me to want to put it in the deck, but it surprised me at like how good the other half of that is when you get to play it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and-
I forgot the base copy has taunt, but the base one has
Yeah.
taunt, which
It
I
does.
didn't like. I have forgotten about because of Jaran Sentinel, and that hasn't come up a lot. But like it's not
pretty great.
terrible. It's
Initially, I
not go with
thought
pretty great.
Talon.
It's not terrible. It's fine.
Well, since the deck is light on 5s, so usually I'm not too sad if I do end up just slamming a Jaran Sentinel on 5 because it's a pretty beefy taunt. And, if they kill it, it then shuffles the bottom part to the onto, well, not shuffles. It puts the better one on the bottom, the sunken one, and we can get that either with Varian, or sometimes you just draw it off of Vitality Surge or Alliance Bannerman, and it's another great tempo swing. And like I said, mostly there to consistently get the 3 draws off Varian. I had considered Talon at first, but the thing is, Talon draws Light Ray, not Varian, and you want the Varian to draw Light Rays. So I went with the Sentinel instead, and it's been pretty solid. I'm at 66.7%, so pretty solid 2/3. Only 18 games, but it's been fun. But you don't want to see Prester or Druid, and you don't really want to see at least Boar Priest. I don't know what the Quest. I think it's probably not great against Quest Priest either.
I feel
Previous
pretty confident that it's bad there.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to give too much time to go find
I
what it
feel
needs.
pretty confident that
Yeah.
it's really, really bad there
Yeah.
because they don't care how much life you have, and you can't kill them.
Yeah, it feels to me probably like the Control Shaman matchup, which almost feels like an auto win.
Yeah.
The Control Shamans, or as Donkey, if we're gonna give him credit for the XL, we have to, give him the ignominy of calling the Control Shaman Moist Shaman, which is
I
the thing.
kind
that
of get it.
I get
kinda
it too, but I'm unhappy about it. Like I'm
It's-
not saying he's wrong. I'm saying I'm unhappy about it.
Yeah, it's
What happened to just water, right?
There's not-
used to
it's
think
not
that
full
water was
Murloc.
Water, so it's just kind of moist.
it's not full Murloc. Just a little bit.
But you've got piranhas as well.
It's well, yeah, but then the Murlocs are amphibious, and a lot of the other minions in the deck, they're clearly land-based. Snowfall Guardian does not swim. Can't swim. It's too cold. The Guardian is, not the water.
I mean,
All
what
right.
is snow but frozen water, though?
Exactly. Yeah. I think
Okay,
this
but it's
just never.
but would
there's
you
just
call
never a reason to use the word moist in this?
would you call ice?
scenario.
I wouldn't call ice wet. It's only wet when it melts
No,
because the water.
But
Ice isn't wet.
it's just water.
But it's not wet.
Water in another state.
But if you were to hold an ice cube and then put it down, what is the word you use to describe the sensation on the palm of your hand?
Well, you wouldn't put it down because it would be stuck in your hand.
Let's assume that you figure out a solution to that logistical problem. Anyways, this is irrelevant. This is not a relevant thing. I do like that shaman. I don't know. Standard right now, it's strange. I don't love it, but also you can kind of do anything. I spent the day I played the most Hearthstone week earlier this week. I spent all day playing Quest decks: Quest Hunter, Quest Rogue, Quest Priest. Quest Hunter, by the way, turns out really strong. We figured out for the majority of Renathal decks, you don't put it in a control deck. You obviously don't put it in an aggro deck, but this format doesn't really have aggro deck except for like a Murloc Shaman. Full Murloc, not partial Murloc. You put it in a deck with weak early game defenses and powerful mid game spikes with some way to be redundant. So this has mostly turned out to be Hunter decks, because Beast Hunter has a lot of tutors with Pet Collector and Breeder and a lot of dredge effects and whatever, or in decks with quests because you always draw the quest. So Renathal Quest Hunter, XL Quest Hunter, really good deck. Really powerful. Wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being one of the better decks in the format, if not the best deck. I'm sure people will be thrilled about that. But I had fun playing it, and also it doesn't run Dragonbane Shot, so it doesn't feel the same. But the endgame state absolutely feels the same. The Quest Rogue, Donkey posted a list in between, updating naming archetypes on his website. And it's just regular Quest Rogue, except it also runs Inkvale Ambusher. And let me tell you,
Ooh,
so
I love
some of
that
you may not
card.
remember what this card does. It was in the mini set. It's a 2-mana 1/2. It has stealth. It has +3 attack and immune while attacking. And let me tell you, against Wild Paw Caverns, card's really strong. Because you just boop the 3/3/4s and it's like they didn't even play it. So that deck's pretty solid. It's pretty okay. 40 health is not a big deal. It's not, it's not really an aggro deck. You play stuff on curve, but you skip turn 1, and then you just play a bunch of stuff, and they don't deal with it, and then they die. So yeah, it's had fun with that. Quest Priest, Steve, I like your list. I've been playing. Inori posted, got rank 1 legend with the Moe Shaman, the Murloc Control Shaman, whatever you want to call it. Except cutting Brand, the School Teachers, and the Frostbites for Piranha Poachers and Reef Walkers. And you just go full, and you play a Bloodlust. So you just kind of go super wide multiple times. You have infinite Piranha Swarmers, which do a lot of damage. Like, a lot of damage. Yeah. And then you just kill your opponent with Bloodlust or Value or Glug. Or Brukan. Just a lot of things that you can do. And I don't know, I've been messing around other modes in the client. Really like BGs right now. Have a lot of fun there. Don't really know what I'm doing. Don't care. Played a little bit of Mercenaries. So I was like, what's it like over here? You know what? Pressing the buttons is fun sometimes. I got through the first 3 tasks in the Yogg quest line. It's not going to be my main game mode, but it's all right. It's all right.
I did the same thing, and then I went to go do task 4, and it said do something with 2 Naga, and I looked through my collection, and I have 1 Naga and no way to craft another one. So I'm pretty much done with that event, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, I mean, you could, buy a pack at a time until you open one, because I think there are a couple rare Naga, but also you could not, and then it would be okay.
Yeah.
They do something, basically, if you know ahead of time, I want to be able to participate in an event, they will say, such and such units are going to be important for this event. But yeah, if you're just kind of dropping in and you realize you don't have it, I think it's totally reasonable.
But I mean that would just be a warning for me not to bother, rather than me to go grind coins, because I'm not gonna.
Sure.
I have other things to do than grind coins in Mercenaries. I'll wait for them to fix the econ, but I'm not spending time grinding coins in Mercenaries. I'm too old for that now.
Yeah, I haven't been grinding coins. I just doing tasks every now and again while I watch something.
Right.
Yep. What else? A little bit of Runeterra here. There's a deck I found that's it's an Akshan Gnar deck that wins with Gnar and Papercraft Dragon, which is called Paper Nario. And if the deck had a different name, I would play it less. But I like it. And also, the deck is very fun. So I've enjoyed that. Marvel Snap, good game. Yes, the progression is kind of not great, but I just stopped spending money until they fix it. In the meantime, I have a bunch of cards. Been playing that here and there. Dicey Dungeons came out on mobile today, so that's going to happen this weekend.
Oh, did it?
It did. Oh. Yep. $5. Dicey Dungeons, mobile. That's good
probably
deal.
Good. I need something to replace the spot in where Diablo Immortal used to be, because I deleted it today.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because the end game is it's a pay Grand Canyon.
Well, it's worse than that, because they just started the 2nd season, and they introduced it. So they're doing another event, and they somehow managed to introduce 2 more currencies with the event. And I said, you know what? No, I'm done. I've had enough. I'm good. And I ended up playing, because they just did an update to Diablo 2 Remastered. So I've just been playing that on the Switch instead, and and I should have just been doing that all along, honestly.
It's new rune words in Diablo 2.
Yeah, so I haven't gotten to that point, because my assassin, I'm playing an assassin hat. I'm playing an assassin, a stabby player character, not even like a priest. But
Arcs or traps.
What's that? Oh, I'm doing traps. So yeah, so I'm just lighting everything on fire, and but yeah, so I just finished Act 2, so I've got a while, but
yeah. Listen, Diablo Immortal is an awesome free story campaign on your phone, and then finish the campaign, then you're done with the game.
Yeah, then
That's
just delete it and do yourself a favor.
Yeah, yeah.
basically.
And that's it. Yep. I had a lot of fun with the free campaign. It felt very Diablo-esque. You know what I mean. And it was in my pocket, and that is the sum total of my recommendation for the game. If at any point you feel like you want to spend money on it, don't. If you finish the campaign and you feel like you want to do multiplayer, don't. But it's a good free single-player campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel
Yeah.
like I
And
played
also
other
Into the
games I
Breach
can't
is
remember.
coming out on mobile any day now.
Oh,
So,
yeah, with the Netflix deal.
yeah. I actually just reinstalled that on my computer and been playing that again. That's been pretty fun.
Fun game. So like, and with Hearthstone, like Kibler just hit Legend with XL Reno Raid the Docks. So like, seriously, the power level is so low right now. The amount
Wait,
of
he's playing a quest deck though?
Did I inspire him?
It's Reno Pirate Warrior. I think we can give him a pass. It's okay.
But I thought quests suck.
I'm
no,
gonna
they
take credit
stink.
for this. I'm gonna take credit for this from our super long game from before.
Yes. But the point is, you're not going to gain a huge advantage right now by playing a meta versus an off-meta deck. The concern that people had in Stormwind about I have to play the good stuff, it's the opposite of that. You don't have to do anything that anyone says. You can do whatever you want. Single cards aren't going to matter as long as you play some good cards somewhere in your deck, and at least one of the good cards in the former right now is a start of game effect. So just throw it in, then do what you want. There are clearly better things to do if you want to play on the meta, but it's not going to give you enough of an edge in this super low power format where you have to.
Yeah.
So
As long as you have some way to scam, right? Like as long as you have some way to scam your opponent, then you're probably fine.
yeah, something like just do something. I'm trying to think of what just completely isn't viable.
Naga Priest is kind of rough right now.
It's rough, but like that deck has a scammer too. There are
Yeah.
ways to win with Naga Priest, especially if you're against like a Prestor Druid or whatever.
Naga Mage is pretty.
Oh well, yeah, Naga Mage is still.
What deck?
Naga Mage is not really around anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know what deck that is.
I was in Dragon Rider's stream, I think yesterday, and she played against a Quest Naga Ping Mage.
Hmm.
And
That seems.
questionable. Yeah,
Pick one.
it was.
I
yeah.
have questions.
So you can do it. I don't think it was very successful, but it's still
Okay.
a thing that you can do.
So, Diamond through Legend, last 7 days, I filtered for Spitelash Siren. There is one deck. It
I'm
is
surprised there's one.
It is an XL Naga Ping Mage. It has 300 games with a win rate of 57%.
Really?
All right. Well,
Remember what I said about 45 seconds ago of you can do whatever you want?
Yeah.
This qualifies.
yeah.
This is
Well,
something
look,
that somebody wants.
If things are slow and you hit Wildfire and/or the hero, like that hero power closes games. So
Yeah.
and sometimes Siren will get you there too against certain decks. I guess. I don't know.
You can try and find some explanation here. I certainly don't have one. I was assuming there would be a mailbox answer in this list so you could brand, coin, Mordrish, but there isn't.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
They reserve that for the big spell mage. Yeah.
Yeah, got to keep the deck streamlined.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's. I can't take this format seriously. I don't want to jam a bunch of games at a time, but in terms of a month 4 of a fourth set meta, it's weird as hell. And so, like, when I feel tuning in, I will probably see something that I haven't seen before whenever I play from what my opponent is doing. And I will probably see some total bait list on Twitter that I will open up, and it won't feel that much worse than what I already have built. And I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult. I'm actually not sure. Kind of both.
Yeah. Like, I have been playing probably more Dark Souls. Well, definitely more Dark Souls than Hearthstone this month because at this point I'm waiting on the new cards. But, when I stream, I'm still playing Hearthstone, and I'm happy that I can go and start my stream and have like a new deck to try and things still be fairly different rather than just like, oh god, this is all the same stuff that we've had for forever, and right. So it's nice that things are still getting kind of shaken up, and Renathal was just very effective for that.
So, there's also been some new cards to talk about. I guess we should do like news and stuff, and then talk about new cards. Want to do that?
Yeah, we should do
Yeah.
that.
All right, let's go.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
All right. So, there's a bunch of little things this week. But some of these things also are questions that we don't have answers to. So, first of all, there's some new skins in the shop. Fire Festival has some bundles coming. The Torchbearer Tyrande with the owl looks awesome.
I bought that. I pretty much insta-bought that, and I am not disappointed. The only thing is that I hate buying new skins during the Fire Festival because you don't get to hear their actual hello emote. You just get to hear the Fire Festival emote, which is from like old Tyrande. So I haven't actually gotten to see all of her emotes yet, but I am very happy with the purchase. And that bundle also comes with 3 class packs for each one of the 3 classes, which you can hold on to until the expansion drops, and then you have a whole extra bunch of whole bunch of extra packs for the new expansion for those classes.
Yep. And there's the bundles. I think there's also so the Battlegrounds bundle is different. But there's also a Battlegrounds bundle here, which includes the Blazing Skies Strike, a bartender, and 15 total skins. So like pretty decent deal here. There's a lot of stuff in this package, and it's all festival related. Pretty good skins overall. I haven't looked all that closely, but these are fun, and there's also going to be there's still a $9.99 bundle for pirate-themed Buccaneers booty with Pirate Bob and 7 other pirate hero skins. Even though many of the skins, they're already pirates. But I guess they're wearing pirate stuff. Oh, Crag is in a submarine. That's kind of fun. So yeah, got some new skins going on. We had an interview with Cora and Gallon, both initial designers. That's exciting. Initial designer Gallon. And they went over a couple things about the new set. The most important being there is not going to be a cycle of murder weapons. Normally you think of the clue thing, suspect location weapon. But remember they work a year out. Last year, they just made the profession tools in Stormwind. So they didn't want to do more weapons, when a year ago they had just done a cycle of weapons. They also didn't want to run the risk of making another Rune Mithra Rod, I guess. The article doesn't say that. I'm saying that, but I'm glad they didn't take the chance. Now, it is clarified, we do still expect normal weapons for weapon classes, but they won't be in non-weapon classes, or there won't be a cycle of it this time around. Pretty important to note, because I thought there could have been a cycle of legendary weapons, but instead they're doing Covenant spells. So, for example, Baroness Vash. She is a Necrolord Shaman, so she has Primordial Wave. We saw that already. And that's an epic, I believe, so it's not a legendary either.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to hear this. I would have enjoyed doubling down on the clue fantasy of everyone having a murder weapon, but I get it. I think legendary weapons would sort of by nature be a bit different from, the toolkits that are, well, not legendary, so you can run 2 of them. But yeah, I don't know. It should still be interesting with their Covenant spells or whatever.
And I think they're saying the Covenant spells are basically the murder weapons, right? Like that's how they're doing it. So it is kind of like a murder weapon, but it's not an actual like weapon.
Yeah. Though I should note, we have a reveal scheduled for today. There is one reveal today. It's in 37 minutes, so you'll get our live reactions on the air. But it's a zoomed-in picture that looks a lot like Remornia, which is Sire Denathrius's talking sentient sword. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a class weapon of some sort, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, it's not
Could be
going to be
warrior.
full cycle. Could be. warrior
Could
in
be a
his
neutral weapon. Could be just going off the rails. Who knows?
Well,
Maybe.
but the skin you get for Denathrius is warrior, correct?
Is it? I actually
I
was not
believe
sure.
yes. I think yes.
I
That
mean,
would
you
be
wouldn't
my
know
guess.
because nobody's played warrior except for Kibler. So
And Edel.
and Edel. Well, not since not. Have you gotten the with the pre-order though? You haven't gotten the pre-orders with the when you were playing that. You were playing Paladin.
Well, now I have the pre-order, so
Yeah.
I'll give it a try.
So
We'll see.
now you'll have to go back to XL Quest Warrior and find out and make sure that he probably has some interesting Fire Festival lines too, right?
I think so.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We have to talk about the Firefest. These skins, they're so good.
They are.
Both rounds.
Yeah. And there's a third round coming.
Wait, what? No. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't-
There's yeah. Because it's in the client. There's Nemzi. I know there's Nemzi. I forget who else is in there. But yeah, it's Nemzi, Morgul, and Lunara. So Juggler, Morgul, Spark Spinner, Nemzi, Fire Flower, Lunara. I don't think those look quite as nice as the other 6.
Well, good, because I can't get more. That I feel like specifically targeted with all of these being super cool and mostly female characters as well. I'm just like, but they're so good.
Yeah, I was actually tempted by last week's, except I couldn't quite do it, and I knew I wanted to hold out for the priest one. But Flame Shot Sylvanas is very cool and
So good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I looked at Liadrin too, but it's like I'm not. And then I thought about it. I'm like, I'm not taking Finley off, so like that's not happening. So then it's buying for like one, because Kael'thas is kind of
That was a
So it's
snap
like, yeah.
decision for me.
yeah.
I feel pretty fortunate they haven't released any more skins that are my favorite characters, but also Murlocs with pun voice lines, so I'm good for now. But when that happens, I'll spend more money.
You don't like Fiery Maiev?
I do, but she's not a Murloc that makes puns, so why would I buy it? Also, Rogue Main, Valera. We do Valera in this house. Until they make a Togwaggle skin. And really,
Okay,
I
wait.
don't care what the money they charge for that. I don't care.
I will say, actually, I'm using the Maiev because it's more recent, but I will probably switch back to Garona because the opening animation, it's so good. Garona is probably my favorite rogue skin.
I guess I ought to put my Ev on. I bought her, right? Like I bought Tyrande and I got the other two, so I should probably put those on. But I've only used the Tyrande because like
Play some Quest Rogue.
Yeah.
It's fun. Anyways, there are new store bundles that are being put in the shop for some players, not all, some. It's an A/B test based on your rank. So when you hit certain ranks, then you get offered a new bundle. They're decent value. I think it's like $3 for 5 packs or $10 for like 15 packs, something like that. I don't know the exact numbers. But Deck Tech tweeted that they are being tested out. It's based on your standard ladder rank, and it is partial. And there are pop-ups. So this makes sense to me that they're trying it, because this is how you build engagement. You say, hey, you get a deal if you hit this rank. And it's probably marketed more at players that don't hit the ranks as often with lower playtime, because a lot of players could hit that next plateau if they played more, and so they're just dangling the carrot, letting people run for it. But right now it's just in the testing phase, but you will get a lot of pop-ups when you log in. If you got this test, you'll know about it every time you play.
Yeah, I'm also not surprised because this is something Diablo Immortal does. Like every time that you clear one of the areas in Diablo Immortal, it pops up, oh, you have a new bundle you could buy, and they start escalating in what they have and what they cost. So I'm not surprised that they would try this. I would imagine that they're probably a better value than the ones that are in Diablo Immortal, but that's an easy bar to clear. But I think that it makes sense for them to do. I'm actually kind of surprised it's taken them this long to go to more personalized offers. That seems like kind of a no-brainer for them, but I think that they'll probably handle it fine. I'm not really worried about like getting Diablo Immortal style, monetization within Hearthstone. I think they know better than to do that in Hearthstone.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't seem like. I understand the appeal here. If the prices were bad, I would have more of a problem here, but they're pretty decent.
Yeah.
You know, it's unsurprising to me, but also doesn't feel particularly offensive, except for how frequently the pop-ups pop up, which I would hope that they figure out a way to make it so that it pops up on your next login and then stops doing that if you don't buy it, as opposed to popping up every single time I log in.
So I suppose if it is an A/B test, then they want to make sure that you know about it, right? So
Yeah.
like I could see them being a little bit more obnoxious than maybe they need to be with it, just to make sure that it is a valid test, that at least they're getting people to go in and look at them and then gauge their reactions to it, as opposed to just like throwing it in the shop. And not everybody checks the shop, every Tuesday to see what new skins dropped, right? So
And
I could also
just
see that
to-
it's intended to go away and then it's currently not working correctly, so it just pops up
Yep.
every time.
yeah.
Just to clarify, these are you buy it and then it's happened, right? So it's not like the next month when you hit those ranks again, it'll be offered again.
We don't know.
I mean, I would imagine this is not going to stick around until next month.
Well, but if this was a permanent thing,
If it was a permanent thing, yeah.
if this happened every month, would you be able to buy it multiple times? I would guess that they would lean into yes. I would guess
Yeah,
they
I
would
guess.
want you to have the option to, because the best thing that a business can do is convince you that you're getting a good deal on something they have a crazy margin on, so that when they shrink the margin a little bit, then you still, like, you feel like you're getting the better end of them and they're still making money. So I would imagine that aggressively pricing something that only is available if you play a lot of the game, I think that's probably something they want to price pretty low. And it's not, like, I'd call it a loss leader, but they're still probably making a bunch.
Right.
Yeah. And if you think about like when somebody like first hits like a new tier, especially as somebody who's getting into the game, right? And then, like the decks get more refined. You can't get away with like, doing budget substitutions as much. So you start playing and like, okay, well, I really need to get the cards for this deck. Oh, hey, here's this offer, right? So it kind of makes sense from that perspective too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of ways that make sense. A lot of the coachings that I do are for people that they have the skill set, but they don't invest the playtime. And this is a very easy way of encouraging those players to put in the playtime, especially because if you have these offers, you might not need to get a bundle. Like the Grand Arcanum in our chat is saying, how do I tell Blizzard I wasn't planning on buying the Mega Bundle this time anyway, but the offers are such a sweet deal, I'm going for it.
I would imagine they're tracking that. I
Yeah.
would imagine you don't need to tell them because they already know. And they're
Yeah.
going to measure that.
But it makes sense that if a person is planning on going from 80 to 0, and instead you bring them to 80 to $25, that is still better for them. And also for everyone that goes from $0 to $25 is probably better. You're okay with cannibalizing your own player base if it is replacing people that fall off and never come back. And speaking of that, there's also a lot of very interesting Reddit posts going around. Mostly users in Europe. This is a different test, and it seems to be all European because all the expiration dates that are being posted are with the day first and the month second. Welcome back gifts. Players that haven't logged in for a while are randomly posting on Reddit that they're getting gifts of packs, of both standard packs and Sunken City packs. Some are posting 20 packs, 10 and 10. Some are posting 150 packs that are being gifted them. 75 standard, 75 voyage. But you have to claim the gift by August 5th. So it is unclear. There's some legitimacy to this. We don't know how widespread this is. We don't know who it's targeting, other than we know it is called a welcome back gift. It's for players that aren't currently playing. So unclear how long you have to have been gone. Unclear how invested you have to be, or not invested. But it does seem that they are dropping welcome back gift bombs on some accounts to test it out.
I would guess that you probably have to at least be logging into BattleNet, regularly to get targeted
Probably.
for this. I ended up going into one of my daughter's accounts because they both played like years ago, just to see. There was nothing, but I would expect that they're not going to waste that on throwing a gift out and hoping somebody logs in after 3 years. I would expect it's like you're regularly playing Overwatch or Diablo or WoW or whatever, and that you'll see the gift pop up and then go check it out. I would expect this is how it would work.
Yeah. It is very strange. We don't know anything about it. We're completely in the dark other than user-reported stuff. If they are doing this, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. But there are, of course, people in the Reddit comment section. How come they get stuff and I don't as a regular player?
Because you got gold for playing the game all this time and they didn't, and they're trying to catch them up so they can play the game.
Because someone else getting something doesn't take anything away from you. And we're not going to elaborate on that topic because it becomes a microcosm of a lot of things in the real world that I don't want to talk about here in my Hearthstone podcast. But yes, it's okay for other people to have things too. So, I hope they do this sort of thing where people that used to play, people that, there are a lot of people that I met when I first came on CoinConcede, which was 4 or 5 years, a bunch of years ago, too many years ago. I want those people to be able to come back without feeling like they got to spend $1 billion. If they got gifted a bunch of packs and they showed up in the Discord and started talking again, I would be thrilled if that was the thing that happened. If people that I used to know that used to play get to come back and be a part of the party, I think that's a wonderful thing. I don't care how much money they had to spend. I don't care how much money I had to spend. I understand there are some people out there that really want to have more stuff in Hearthstone and don't, and then seeing someone else getting gifted something, I understand the natural human tendency there. But I just want more people to play. And so I hope that they're doing this to some degree, though I'd like some transparency on how it's happening, because it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, but I mean, if more people are playing the game, it's better for all of us.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, if more people playing the game is good for everyone. So it's, whatever they're doing to try to bring people back in and give it another try, because it is a very different game than it was a couple years ago. People in, get them to give it a try, see what happens. I'm all for it. I mean, that's got it, because they're not getting new players, right? You're not going to find people who have never heard of Hearthstone at this point. You might get a few, but there's not that many left. So where they're going to get new player acquisition is going to be returning players. So it only makes sense.
Yeah. And also Battlegrounds. Anyways.
Yeah, and Battlegrounds.
The last note is that Mike Ybarra, the president of Blizzard, has said we want to bring back BlizzCon in 2023.
Yay.
Cool.
I'm excited.
I'm going to go. Yeah.
Although they say we want to, that doesn't mean it'll happen, right?
There's some stuff going on. The rest of the article alludes to said stuff, which includes the lawsuits and the acquisition. So who knows what's going to happen? I sure don't. But the person that is currently in charge of Blizzard wants to make BlizzCon happen. That has to speak to something. Okay. Time for some tournament talk. Let's go.
It's the grand tournament!
So we had a Masters Tour. We started talking about it last week when we were just looking at the decks. We have the results. The big winner was Pocket Train. This is the first big event that he's won, and Dravo was the runner-up, and the rest of the top 8 was rounded out with Habu Gabu, Gabi, Plastic, Gabom, Jajo, and LFU Ying. We actually got a Habu Gabu Gabi showdown in the top 8, which Habu Gabu ended up winning, but which was a lot of fun to watch. And it's interesting looking at the stats, because it didn't really matter what rogue you brought as long as you brought a rogue, and most people did. That was easily one of the best. All 3 of them were 1, 2, 3. Bomb Rogue, Boat Rogue, Thief Rogue were all at the top of the list. Bomb Rogue in particular was a surprise, because there were only about 30 or so people who brought it, but it was the best performing deck by a fair margin at 56 or 57%.
And it's worth
also,
noting the Bomb Rogue has seen a big revolution in the archetype. The smokescreen thing is really taken off.
Yeah, the smokescreen and Burning Blade Acolyte list with Trickster. So that I think that was a fair number of them. But I mean, there was such a small sample size, it was hard to kind of figure out what was going on with it anyway. But and kind of the decks that you would expect to do well. Fell Demon Hunter at a slightly above 50% win rate. Both Big Spell and Ping Mage without the big spells did okay. Control Shaman was just about 50%. Prestor Druid did better than some people expected. It was definitely present in the top 8. Had like a 48% win rate, which is probably more about the deck's own failure rate, more so than like what the matchups were like. And Boar Priest in particular, and this is why when you're looking at the matchup at the game win rates, you have to be careful. Because Boar Priest had about a 44% win rate. Boar Priest was also in 3 of the top 4 lineups. The 3 of the lineups that reached top 4, I should say. The only one who didn't have that, I believe, was Habu Gabu, who had Wig Priest. All Gabon, Dravo, and Pocket Train all had Boar Priest, and Pocket Train in particular put on a show in the quarterfinals. That if you want to understand,
so good with that deck.
Yeah.
So
if you want to understand how Boar Priest wins, go look at his quarterfinal match, because he was behind the whole game and still managed to pull it out, and it was a masterclass on how to play Boar Priest. But again, that's something that he actually, and he's known as a combo deck player. Like I remember him playing, I believe it was Celestial Druid. I was in, I think it was Superior David's stream, and he was in there, and someone said, I know you from playing Boar Priest, and my response was, I know Pocket Train from all kinds of decks that I'm not smart enough to play. Yes. But the casters were saying at one point that he doesn't like bringing it because it's a lot of intense thought you don't get any easy games with Boar Priest, right? Like it's a lot of intense thinking every single time, but it works so well for him that he kind of has to, and it paid off for him. So that's something to look at. I have a thread of, I should say, because I keep forgetting to say it, these are the full stats. You can go to offcurve.com/Masters Tour, which is my site, where you can go and explore all the data in more detail. I did put a thread up on Twitter of some of the things that I found going through the individual card analysis, because there was a number. First of all, there was some conversation about, was 30 card Celestial Alignment better than 40 card Celestial Alignment? At least for this tournament, it wasn't. And Burn Shaman was one of the ones that was surprising me. That was actually significantly improved by going up to 40 cards, which I was not expecting to see at all.
I would not expect that either.
Yeah. And it was like 6% win rate over average that it gained by going up to 40 cards.
That's a lot of percent.
It's a lot. You don't see that very often. So, and there were a few other things. I'm sure we'll have a link to the thread in the show notes. You can go take a look at that. But it was a good event. Again, if you want to learn why Boar Priest wins, you should go do that. You should go watch that quarterfinal match. And then we will have the last weekend of qualifiers, I believe, will be not this weekend, but next weekend. And I think ladder qualifiers are done. The last qualifiers were for Masters Tour 6, and those took place at the end of June. So that's going to be it for Masters Tour qualifying. This weekend, we do have another Lobby Legends Fire Festival. So that will be casted by Raven and Nina is Noob. So that'll be fun to watch. I really like how they're getting, the established casters along with some of the streamers from the Battlegrounds community to commentate these events. It's an interesting way to do it. And they are these are going to be on NA time, so they will be on Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. So that the top 16 will be on Saturday, and then that'll cut down to top 8 in check format on day 2, and we'll have a $50,000 prize pool, and it should be a pretty good time. So if you're interested in learning some high level battlegrounds, you have another opportunity this weekend.
I wish we knew more in advance about these, because I feel like I learn about them a couple days before they happen.
Yeah, there's been some discussion in the Battlegrounds community, particularly about how to get more viewership for these because the viewership's kind of started to drop off. It sounds like. I know I tried to watch the last one and it was hard for me to follow, but it was also later at night and I wasn't really paying as close attention to it as I would like. I'll give this one a little bit better of a shot. Given that it's during a time when I would just be kind of sitting in my office watching something, so it may as well be Lobby Legends and see what I can get from it. It does seem like it's a game where you really need to be like focusing and watching it because whoever's doing the observing does a good job, but they're constantly switching between perspectives, and if you're not really paying attention, you can kind of miss what's happening. Like if you're kind of watching it in the background, whereas like if you're looking at a constructed game, like you can kind of go away for a couple turns and come back to the board state, kind of see what's going on. If you look away from a BG stream, sometimes like they've gone over somewhere else and you're not necessarily picking up what's happening. So but I'm sure that that's something like they just need to do more of them and they'll figure this stuff out too. Like it's still very early in like the HS Esports produced BG's tournaments, and they'll work these kinds of things out as they go. I mean, there's probably more that HS Esports could do to promote this, but I have seen them being more vocal this week in particular, and kind of hyping up the event more in advance. Like I started seeing some tweets about it maybe last week, like end of last week. So, they're starting to do that. But I mean, getting a full schedule and just getting it out there would be great, especially because they seem to know when they're going to be because they scheduled the qualifiers around them.
Yep. I just want to know what's happening in BGs. It feels like a different universe and not one where I would know anything about this format or mode if it wasn't for Slissa and Pocky Plays tweets. Those are the primary sources of my information. There should be something a little bit more official. All right. Well, I think that's our tournament talk. Want to talk about new cards for an hour? I think
Sure.
you do. I think you do.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go.
So we have had a decent number of new cards. It has not been the back-breaking reveal of some previous seasons. It's been a nice leisurely pace. So
They started a week earlier, I think, right?
Yeah.
yeah. But we
There's
still
been a lot of breathing room.
have plenty to talk about, though. And I don't know, you seem pretty particular about how you wanted to do the order last time, Hat, but should we just go down the sheet this time?
It is, yeah, I'm going sorting by class and by name. So, pretty straightforward. We'll be going top to bottom. Reminder, when we're talking about locations, you'll need to know this about locations. Remember, you can't use them 2 turns in a row. They have a cooldown. The door half opens the turn after you use them, but you can't use them again right away. So we have a few locations to talk about. I will wax eloquent about the rogue one. Steve's going to talk about the priest one. It's going to happen. So just remember, you cannot use these 2 turns in a row. All right. Start with Hedge Maze.
So this is a druid location, which one thing I will say, pretty hard on some of these to tell what class they're for. So there may be some memorization involved. Theoretically, it's kind of this scroll deal that is around the side of the card, but it can be a little challenging to really see what color that is. Like looking at this one for druid, it almost looks like it's a neutral location or something.
Yeah. You want to look at
on
the
Angry
bottom
Chicken,
half
they thought
of
it
the
was a
card,
rogue
yeah.
card at first. Because like
Yeah.
it's almost grayish.
It's a lot
Yeah.
like the weapon frames, right? Like it's just like there's a little bit of bezel, but there's not really enough. But the bottom half of it like some of like the hunter ones and like some of the other classes, they look a little bit more distinct. This is the same brown as like the top half of the card, so it kind of all blends together.
But anyway, it's a 3 mana, 2 durability location, Hedge Maze. trigger a friendly minion's death rattle. That's probably another reason that they assumed this was the rogue location, because we have
what
not
the hell
had
is
death
this?
rattles in Druid.
Because what the hell
Yeah.
is this?
We had Taunt in Druid, and that deck had some number of death rattles, but I don't think we've had like death rattle Druid before.
We did when Hadronox was a card.
Well, that's what I mean. But that
Yeah,
was like
that's
a
it.
taunt focus.
That was it. But I want Taunt Druid with Hadronox was my jam, and I would want to go back and play Wild with this and Hadronox and lose a lot and get it out of my system. But that's like the only time that we've really I think they kind of said that this would probably be too powerful in something like a rogue or a priest, right? So like this is something that's opening up a little bit of extra design space for them. Where I mean, because like the death rattles that you do have are like on the squirrel, right? And like there's a bunch of like
you get a Kolak shell.
yeah, or like
Is-
bottom
is
feeder.
it a heavy
right?
plate?
Like yeah. So like there's like a bunch of like the little minions that or is there like one of the like the stealth 4/4 that drops the stealth 2/2 and like it's a lot of the ones that are in like Beast Druid have death rattle. So maybe I don't know if you really want to be spending a board slot on that in something like a Beast Druid.
You're trying to be really
But-
diplomatic right now, Steve. I understand that
am.
you're trying to do that. It's very nice of you. This clearly is part of something that's in this set that we haven't seen yet,
Yeah.
because otherwise this makes no sense.
Yeah, this feels like To My Side when it was revealed, right?
Yeah.
When
Or like
To
the
My Side
first
was
time we
revealed-
saw
yeah.
when we saw Razor Boar in Barons,
Yeah.
and we were like, "What is Demon Hunter doing with death rattles?" Turns out they made a lot of them, and it's still
eventually
like,
in the mini
yeah.
set they did. I mean, the mini set they made enough of them to actually matter, but yeah, it was like when we saw to My Side without Rockdalar or whatever it was, the weapon, and then it's like, okay, now this makes sense. I think there's probably something coming, but you know, it's hard. This is why it's hard to evaluate these things kind of in the middle, because it's like, well, we don't know. I'm sure there's something, but right now it's, you know, what I mean, I guess you could play Naval Mines, you know, that's always the
That's-
answer.
That is the dream curve. Turn 1 Vibrant Squirrel, turn 2 Naval Mine, turn 3 the world is your oyster. You got a little onboard stuff, you got a little offboard stuff, you got to hedge your bets. Huh? Huh?
It would be amazing.
Oh, I get it. I see. All right. That was great. That was better than the card is, maybe. We'll see. We're going to go on to the next one. This is a hunter location, Castle Kennels. 2 mana, 3 durability. Give a friendly minion +2 attack. If it's a beast, give it rush.
It seems better.
Yes.
So, a lot of beasts do already have rush, at least currently. But I like the flexibility here. Honestly, one of the best things about Doggy Biscuit has been just giving a thing a rush, particularly if we're getting some beasts discounted from the harpoon gun, which has been an all-star in Hunter. You know, being able to play Mountain Bear and give it rush, pretty great.
I mean, there was a time when people were running Houndmaster Shaw with Hydralodon, right?
Yeah.
So, like, this isn't quite that much of a wombo combo, but being able to give the two, like, one of the two that rushes out, like getting an extra 3/1, like, I'm sure that's not the kind of value you're looking for. But I mean, if you need to kill off death rattles and you want them to trade things off, then, you know, that's something that you certainly can do.
It works on anything. It doesn't have to be on a beast. If you just want to play a Samuro and make it a 3/6, you can do that. The main issue that I see here is that the good beasts already have rush, and like imported Tarantula is probably the best one that doesn't, that we aren't playing right now. But I also don't know if we're going to clamor to play imported Tarantula, because you don't want to build around just this location to make those cards playable. And if it's just +2 attack and 3 minions, like, it's alright. But I'm not sure how excited I am about it. It's nice to have with a Hydralodon head, but that means I already am playing a Hydralodon and killing things. It's nice to have with a Mountain Bear, but that means I already have a Mountain Bear. How often do I need this when I have the big beasts? Or how often does this help me in the early game over playing Doggy Biscuit or Ramming Mount, which have some defensive stuff too? I'm not really sure. Depends on which piece I'm running.
I'm not sure it's over as much as, in addition to right? Like you said, the +2 attack can go on whatever, and you don't need the rush. So that damage has charge if the thing was already in play. You can play a Slither Spear on 1, and then play this on 2, give it +2 attack, go face for 3.
When your King Crush comes out, it does 10 instead of 8.
That is true.
Right.
That's a bigger number.
Yeah. I mean, and also, like, sometimes some people run Phelan in that deck, and then, okay, well, you get to rush out a Blackwater Behemoth or, whatever.
Why does it always come back to Blackwater Behemoth with you, Steve?
Because he is my boy, okay? He is my sweet boy, and he just wants to meet friends, right? And he really just wants to meet people.
You know what you can give Rush with this? Glug.
See? There you go.
Glug. Yeah. Big old Russian glug. You probably want to give the tail Rush, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. The tail sounds better than the head.
Anyways,
It's like
Yeah.
a little tail whip, like in Pokemon.
In general, I wouldn't get too distracted by the rush. I think it is a bonus, but giving something +2 attack is pretty nice when you can set it up beforehand. I mean, we've seen in general how stuff that you can set up beforehand has tended to overperform a little bit, like Mana Biscuit, like the Rogue that makes a Death Rattle thing costs 2 less. Like this sort of, it's not quite the same, but it kind of saves you mana in the sense that you can play beforehand and then use it on a thing at your discretion. But I would not be surprised if just 1 drop and then this is also a thing that you do.
Yeah. Or maybe we get something like Trampling Rhino again, where the attack like
Oh.
super matters, right?
Yeah,
So
maybe.
maybe.
or like Rat Pack or something.
Yeah, I can see worlds where this card is decent and sees play. I can see worlds where it seems relevant, and then you build a deck around it, and your beasts don't have rush, and then you don't draw it, and the deck is bad. There are a lot of different ways to go about this being relevant, so I can see it.
In
But
Arena,
also,
I'm
I
sure
can
it'll
see
be
it.
really good.
But I could see it being awkward too. I could see it being too awkward to run. I'm not sure about it. All right. Did we talk? We didn't talk about the skeletons yet, did we? No, that was
No,
the day after.
you mean David S. Pumpkins Mage?
You're gonna have to explain
I'm
that
going
reference
with
to me.
Volatile Mage. 'cause
Okay,
that's
so-
what makes the most sense to me.
So there was a SNL skit a few years ago with Tom Hanks where he was just in a suit covered with pumpkins, and there were 2 guys behind him who were dancing, and that was what was scary. And then they kept asking, well, why are the skeletons there? We're part of it, and that's just what they are. They're part of it. I just
All
love
right.
David S. Pumpkins. I'm sorry. It's
No, it's okay. You do you, Steve. It is not a reference that I got immediately, but I am okay with
I
that.
will
being
send
seen.
you the link to the skit after the show.
I'm looking forward to
So
it.
So much like piranhas in Shaman currently, where they exist in neutral, but Shaman is the class that has an actual thing with them in the form of schooling and the Murloc that gives you 1 at the end of the turn, but then you could get it another way. Volatile Skeleton is a neutral 2-mana 2/2 Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. And so this can go face, which can be a pro or a con, right? Sometimes you'll want to trade into something and hit their other minion and it'll go face instead. But it comes very important for a card we'll get to later. Mage, this is their package. This is a, hey, this is what Mage does kind of thing from this set, and they work very well together. There are 3 cards they've shown that create volatile skeletons. Well, I guess 4. The last one creates them and does something extra. But
Yeah.
I love this. They're frost spells, but they don't necessarily freeze. One of them freezes, and that is the location. 3 mana, 3 durability. Freeze a minion, summon a 2/2 volatile skeleton. So you get to do this 3 times over the course of 5 turns. Pretty solid, honestly.
So we've got a few different cards. We'll go over all the skeleton cards. Cold Case is kind of like the shield block sort of thing. You get the 2 skeletons, you get the 4 armor. Mage having instant life gain, by the way, that isn't ice barrier, pretty important.
Yep.
Deathborn. This is deal 2 damage to all minions. Summon a volatile skeleton for each killed. So if you kill your own skeletons with this, you get new skeletons.
Yep.
When we watched the gameplay stream with Kibler, where this deck was revealed in playtest, it was on an older build, At the time, this cost 5 and the location had 2 durability. They wanted to make the location better, and they pulled back on this because Deathborn is much more likely to make a big old wave of skeletons and pop some of your existing skeletons. I'm not surprised they pulled it back, though 6 mana for this card seems a little ambitious. But the location gives you over 5 turns, 3 freezes, 3 volatile skeletons, which are 2/2s and the 2 damage. It's not a spell. Really important. It's a location, not a spell. Big Spell Mage would play this immediately right now and get way better because of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that you get to use it without spending mana on it. Like if you think about, I forget what the name of the I play it enough. The
Wildpaw Caverns.
the 2-drop who makes your hero power 0.
Oh, Amplified Snow Flurry.
Yeah. So like you think about when you play him and just like leave your hero power alone, right? And just have that 0 mana hero power for a future turn because you know you're going to need it, right? Like that's also relevant. Not having to spend mana on freezing out a minion, and your opponent knowing that you can do that is also going to change how they're going to play around it, right? So like that's valuable, and also just getting another minion that you can use to then trade off that frozen minion the following turn, you know, with either the damage from the attack and possibly the damage from the death rattle.
Yep. I
Question.
wish this could freeze face. It can't, but
Yeah.
otherwise.
Kind of going with that. If there's not a minion to freeze, can you still summon the skeleton?
Nope.
I would assume no.
You have to target something.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. It's so if you can't target anything, it doesn't work. At least that's my understanding.
That is a nice weakness, or at least for it to have some kind of weakness.
It's dynamic, right? It creates dynamic
yeah.
replayability, which is a big deal. You want cards to feel different based on the game state. Pretty important.
But yeah,
Um,
and you mentioned the Cold Case, the 4 mana summons 2 of them, and you get 4 armor. That's really nice for just a frost spell that you can play. The first thing I'm actually going to try with these is a Quest Mage, because you just get this influx of frost spells that you're totally fine with just playing. And if you do get the extra 2 spell damage off, then now your Deathborn is going to be dealing 4, so able to clear a lot more stuff to give you those skeletons. And you're building all of this up to the big finisher that is Kel'Thuzad. And oh my, Kel'Thuzad is just it's such a good finisher. So 8 mana, 6/8, same as the original Kel'Thuzad, which was a neutral. But what this one does is Battle Cry. For each of your volatile skeletons that died this game, summon another skeleton. And if your board is full, they explode immediately. So that way you don't get punished if like you still have some skeletons in play. I guess you get punished a little bit in the sense that you want them to die for it to be able to be resurrected. But yeah, if you're playing a more board-focused mage, or if you've just summoned a ton of volatile skeletons over the course of the game, you get to just have them blow up immediately. And that can be a pretty substantial amount of face damage.
I mean, it's another Mordresh, basically. I mean, that's basically what it's going to end up being. I mean, if you're going all in on skeletons, you're going to be summoning a fair number of them.
Mordresh is Pyroblast everything in play. This is worse than that, but it's active more easily, and this is more like a Blastmaster Boom.
Yeah.
All right, that's what we're looking at.
Or like a Tamsin's Phylactery. I mean, those are bigger bombs, but like that are coming off the owl. But like, if there's a way to get this to happen with like a Bran or something like that too, or Zola it,
I don't think this is going to be quite as game-ending as either of those things, as a Phylactery turn or a Mordresh turn. When you get Mordresh on curve, your stuff is gone and your health is gone. This is not going to be fun to play against on curve, but it's not going to be instant game over unless you're talking really, really big numbers.
Or small, or your opponent doesn't have a board, right? Because if your opponent doesn't have a board, then all the skeletons go face.
But even if you've played, I don't know how many skeletons, if you've played 10 skeletons that game, and you play this on an empty board, they're still only taking 8 that turn. Now, I wouldn't want to stay in that game if I were the opponent, unless I had a Snowfall Guardian. And even then,
because everything else is going to blow up eventually, right? Like the rest of it is is
But
potential damage.
But it's not like the turn you play this, your opponent usually doesn't die right away. It's you make a board that will probably kill them, and they might take some damage or their board might be whittled down, but the turn you play this, they're probably not going to die. The turn you play Mordresh, they die frequently. The turn you play Tamsin's Phylactery, they should die, otherwise you shouldn't be playing the deck. So this is more body in a box, a little bit of chip damage, really nice capper to the Volatile Skeleton strategy. There might be more cards to Volatile Skeletons, there might not be. This is going to be, as of right now, like an 11-card package that you probably throw in a mage deck and see what happens. It feels deck recipe-ish right now, but I wouldn't be surprised there's a little bit more to it. The location is a standalone card. You can just put that in a mage deck and it's totally fine. Kel'Thuzad means you need every card that says Volatile Skeleton in the name. But the payoff here is pretty good. It's pretty solid. It's encouraging us to play minions, and also there are some spells that work with it. It's going to feel really different from the other mage decks out there right now. I don't know how competitive it's going to be. I don't know how much better it's going to be as more cards come out that don't say the word Volatile Skeleton in them, because it's really, really specific in what it's looking for, like Abyssal Curses. But I imagine that on day one there will be a lot of people playing this on 8 and probably winning some games because of it. I don't know if that'll last, but it'll be fun the first day.
Yeah.
And then another card that I think will remain pretty good for as long as it is in Standard, that synergizes with the Volatile Skeletons, but that is not required, is Frozen Touch. 2 mana Frost spell, deal 3 damage, infuse 3, add a Frozen Touch to your hand. So, another one of it that has to be infused again. This is just a keep replaying Frozen Touch. Like, you have 3 minions die, you play another Frozen Touch. Now, again, you do need to have minions for it to get that infuse, but something like Mech Mage, which currently, there are some Mech Mages running Fireball, and that's okay. I'll take this over Fireball, because it's just way more flexible. You probably get more long game value out of it. It doesn't freeze, it's not a Frostbolt, but just the recurring damage is pretty solid.
And yet it doesn't necessarily fit in a straight quest mage, because you're not putting this in a deck with 20, 26, 28 spells, right?
I mean,
some of the spells make minions, but probably not enough of them.
It's a frost spell. I think you still do.
Yeah.
Hold on a second here. This is a Mech Mage card. This is just damage. You put this in your minion deck, you take out Fireball, you put in Frozen Touch, and it deals 12 damage. Because you just play crappy minions all the time. Infuse is an aggro mechanic. Infuse is a mechanic you play if you're developing onto the board, and if you're playing stuff and then you want some reach. If I'm putting this in my Mech Mage deck, if this is in my hand, turn 2 Trench Surveyor, turn 3 Sea Scout Operative, a few of my minions trade, okay, take 3, bring it back, let's start this again. Every single time you try and clear some of Mech Mage's minions, you're going to take 3 damage. Basically, every minion deals you 1 when it dies. Because every 3 minions that die, they take 3 damage. Think about how many times your board gets cleared as a Mech Mage. This is more damage than Fireball. It's more mana, but it's more damage. I mean, it's break even at 4 mana, 6 damage. But it's probably going to activate 3 times in one game, which means 9 damage. You just play this in an aggressive deck. You want this in a deck with Iron Deep Trog. They copy the Trogs, they kill a few of them, and then you play this and they take 3, and then you start over again. Really, really powerful aggro card. You can absolutely put this in a Quest Mage if you want to. But you want to play this in a deck with minions? It can be
that's
used
what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. It can be in your Volatile Skeleton. It can be in your David S. Pumpkins Mage and use as removal, but I want to go face with this 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point, is that it's something that is designed for a deck of minions, not a deck of all spells, right? And that's what makes this, because that's got to be a challenge for them, designing any sort of a frost spell that does face damage at this point, because, well, what about the quest, right? So how do you do it? You do it in a way that you get the most value out of it if you play minions. So yeah,
I'm just saying, if you play spells that play minions, it works too, or locations that play minions.
Yeah.
My quest, volatile mage, I think, perfectly happy to have Frozen Touch, and you're still, summoning some skeletons, etc. It's not going to be, it's a different kind of quest mage. It's not an Incanter's Flow quest mage. It's no longer that, right?
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God, indeed. You're more just controlling things with that spell damage. But if you have frost spells in the form of these cards, and you every once in a while get another frozen touch that comes back, it's going to be 5 damage instead of 3.
Yeah. I do think that Infuse 3 tells me a lot about how it's unlikely to be in a slower, more controlling deck that wants to proc the Infuse with the location, unless you're willing to use it as a Dark Bomb, which you probably are. Infuse 3 is a big ass for a deck that doesn't play a lot of minions. You kind of want to go wide here if you're going to proc it multiple times. Alright, so we have some breaking news. A new card has been revealed that is actually super awesome. Let's look at this. This is Remornia the Living Blade. This was just revealed. This is our live reaction. This is a warrior legendary minion / weapon. It starts as a minion. 7 mana, 4/10 with Rush. After this attacks, equip it. And then when you equip it, after your hero attacks, return this to the battlefield. So health and durability are the same number. So like if you would take this 4/10 and you attack a 4/4, it gets equipped to your hero as a 4/6. It takes 4, right? Then you have a 4/6 weapon. Then you attack with it. It loses 1 durability. Goes back to the board as a 4/5. So this is Krakatoa.
Yeah.
Right? This is Krakatoa. Except also, what's going to happen is you're going to attack a minion. You're going to put it, you're going to equip it. You're going to attack with your face. You're going to drop it back in play. You're going to attack a minion. It ends the turn equipped to your hero. Right? If you have 2 minions to hit, it's going to end the turn equipped to your hero. So the 10 durability will go down pretty quickly because it's also, it is shared with the health of the minion. But that means that you get to hit 3 things for 4 and end the turn with this in your weapon slot, so it's unlikely to be taken off the board unless they have a Viper or something.
It's probably not going to have that much durability left by that point either if it's trading into 2 minions.
Probably not, but you can conditioning this. Edelweiss, you can conditioning this.
So I initially thought about that, and I was like, oh, but you wouldn't want to do that because then it'll just become a 4/10 weapon and lose that. So you're saying it keeps whatever you gave it while it was a minion.
The numbers in the bottom corners,
which is a pro and a con.
Yeah, the numbers in the bottom corner stay in the same place. So whatever the attack and health is becomes the power and durability. They're the same things, the same values. They're just in a different card type, right?
Okay.
Kind of like
So a double-edged sword, if you will.
No!
Oh, look at you!
Whoa!
Wow!
Hold on. I'm going to go. Episode title. Edelweiss made a good pun. Okay, that is the name of the episode.
People are going to assume I make bad ones all the time.
Wait a minute. Madman. Ass. Hit it very hard. Does that apply to the weapon? No, hit it very hard.
It doesn't stick to the weapon.
It's to your hero, right.
Because you're giving your hero plus 10 attack, not the weapon plus 10 attack. Yeah.
But if you have it equipped and you play Lady Ashvane, you will give it the +1/+1.
Correct.
Or one of the pirates that buffs your weapon.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, those all work. This is cool. This is
rad.
A cool
I'm very
card.
excited.
I want to play with this. I want to play with this card.
And you can still fit in a Zola and then get another one.
I don't know if you. I mean, you would want to play it after this one broke, right? Because it's not really something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you wouldn't play it immediately, but then you just have it in your hand and then replay it when the next one happens. And also, from the depths is still a card if it gets played. So, I mean, it could be 5 potentially.
Parade Leader works very well here.
Oh,
well, that's gone, isn't it?
Yes, but it would have worked.
In Wild, it works, or Duels.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
There's a time and a place for everything, and it's called Duels.
Yeah. This is I'm going to think about this card for a while, but I want to play with it now. I want to play now.
Wait. Someone just mentioned Nightmare, like from Ysera. And I'm wondering, how does that work? If it's a minion and you Nightmare an attack, and then it's a weapon, does it get destroyed as a weapon?
My instinct would be that weapons don't die to Nightmare's buff, but my real answer is I have no idea, dude. I have no idea. My
Yeah.
guess would be that Nightmare doesn't work on weapons, but it should also, if it's moving over, like if the attack and the health stay persistent, it's the same card and it has the same debuff. It could easily be destroyed at end of turn. I have no idea. I've never had my weapon be Nightmared before.
And then if you nightmare it, does that mean that you have 9 attack on your weapon?
Yes,
Does that mean
you would.
Nightmare
Well,
gives
8
4
attack.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8. Yeah, sorry.
But
it's still
what
a
would be
lot.
really funny is if you have a weapon that just or have this thing where you always have to end your turn with it as a weapon because otherwise it'll break.
It's who knows. It's funky, really cool design. I like this a lot. I think it's rad.
Yeah, me too.
So, and
Yeah.
it is a warrior legendary weapon, kinda, but it's a minion to start. Really fun. I like this a lot. I want to play with it. Also,
Lore wise, it's an intelligent weapon, right?
yes.
So
we
it kind
should
of makes sense.
We should also explicitly say, I know we're talking about how cool the card is and how interesting the possibilities are. It's good. This is good. This is a Krakatoa.
Oh yeah.
This is a powerful card. This makes Warrior better.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, it's something like there was that bad weapon that you could it was huge, but you could only attack minions with it, and this is kind of like that, but also you still get to go face with it once. So that's that it's board control, and you get to turn that into face damage too. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah. I think that's cool. All right. I like it.
Yeah.
So where were we? We talked about Frozen Touch, talked about Kel'Thuzad, talked about mage cards. There is a new mage secret, Vengeful Visage. After an enemy minion attacks your hero, summon a copy of it to attack the enemy hero.
Note that this is an after, so if you die to crush or smite, you will not get to kill them back and make a tie.
I would like
So
to
you
note
have to live through the attack in order to summon the minion.
the most important part of this card is the flavor text. The mirror shows us nothing less than the deepest, darkest desire of our hearts to go face. That flavor text makes me want to play Mage more, I'll be honest with you. But this card, I don't know.
We
Yeah.
already have a secret that gets procced by having your face attacked. Right.
And
So
we
it doesn't
already-
add to any of the complexity of the secret math.
And if I just want their minion, I'd rather just play Mirror Entity. Is that in Standard? That rotate? I feel
No,
like that
no,
rotated.
it's not. It rotated out.
Okay. Well then,
There are
maybe
only
I
4
don't...
secrets in standard for mage right now.
Okay.
It's explosive runes, ice barrier, oasis ally, and counterspell. That's it right now.
I don't know. Could be cool, but it's probably bad, right?
So the closest we've had was a rogue spell that did something similar, except instead of attacking immediately, you got the minion with stealth, right? And at 2 mana, that just wasn't particularly great, because typically what happens is if you are a more aggressive thing, you have minions, so people do not usually hit your face, and until you don't have minions, in which case you're already behind by the time you get the proc. So similarly here, I would guess it's not gonna be great too often, but maybe there will exist a deck that's able to take advantage of it. I don't know. It just seems like it doesn't have a home currently.
It has a home. Its home is in Rune of the Archmage.
Mm,
Jesus.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
accurate.
That's,
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's where it's relevant because it will come out of there a lot.
Don't think we're
And you
gonna
need to
we're
know
gonna
about it.
figure anything else out that's better than
Yeah.
that. So let's just keep going. All right, Paladin time. Okay, where do we start with Paladin? There's an archetype and there's a couple cards. The
And
archetype here.
there is some awesome flavor text, by the way, because there is a reference to Fell's Kitchen.
That's on this card right here, Sinful Sous Chef. The
Yes.
flavor text. If this dinner party goes well, she thinks she has a good shot at being on Fell's Kitchen. Amusing. There are a few Dude Paladin cards here. Sinful Sous Chef, 1 mana, 2/1. Paladin minion, Death Rattle, add 2 Silverhand recruits to your hand. So,
solid.
regardless of whether or not you are playing a Dude Paladin, this is just a good card. This is just it does a bunch of stuff. It's 3 procs on your Light Ray. It's 3 procs on any infuses you have in your hand, and it's 1 mana 2/1 with a couple tokens thrown in. It is
It's
a good
Quest
card.
Paladin support.
I mean,
I'm not saying it's good. I'm
is.
saying it's Quest Paladin support. I'm not saying that support is good. I'm just saying it's Quest Paladin support.
that is technically true and likely irrelevant. But yes, you are right.
Listen, technically correct is the best kind of correct.
Look,
And the worst kind
I'm
of
going
correct
to
is
try
Quest
it.
Paladin support.
I'm going to try it, whether it ends up working out or not. But yes, this is helpful on that front, and that is a Silverhand recruit deck in Quest Paladin. So you can eventually just have a hero power that summons 2 3/3s, and yeah, it may be though that this is just a solid card outside of that deck, and you do not play Quest Paladin. It's probably more likely.
Yeah. I mean, we did have
Yeah,
Dry Gulch
more
Jailer
likely.
once- yeah.
Much more likely. It's just, I love the slow realization anyone has when they're playing Quest Paladin. They're a deck built around 1-drops that always skips turn 1. It takes about 3 games every time I load it up before I'm like, oh, yeah, because this would be really good on turn 1 when you're playing Quest Paladin. Hope you got the coin.
I mean, we did have Dry Gulch Jailer once upon a time, which was a 2-drop, and it was played sometimes, but I
Different
guess it
world
was
back
played,
then. It was a
yeah.
battle cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a Death Rattle.
Oh, you're right. It was a death rattle. Yeah. Long
I guess,
time ago.
yeah, the difference was you got 3.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, you got 3 instead of 2, but you also had to wait. You had to pay 2 mana for it, which you don't want to be paying 2 mana for that. So
No. But we do want to play 1 mana for this. I think this is a reasonable card to even think about in Holy Paladin. Because, again, 3
Yeah.
procs on your Light Ray is a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not insignificant. Yeah.
And what are the other Dude Paladin cards here? We got 2 of them. So we'll do the legendary Stewart the Steward. The Kyrians have owls that are stewards. And Stewart is the steward of the Stew Ward.
Oh god.
This is WoW canon. This is in World of Warcraft. He is the steward of the Stew Ward. Also, he is an adorable owl that gives you stew. It's fantastic. He is a 3-mana 3/3 legendary paladin minion. Death Rattle, give the next Silverhand recruit you summon +3/+3, and this Death Rattle. Which means there will always be a stewarded Silverhand recruit at some point unless it gets silenced. But otherwise, there will just be a 4/4, and when it dies, the next one you make, the next one you summon, whether your hero power, an effect, or something, will then be a 4/4, and it just jumps from minion to minion to minion to minion.
It's like
for
Aegwin.
the rest of the game.
We have Aegwin right now, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Seems kind of good.
Yeah. I mean, one of the issues with Aegwin would be, since it's the next minion you draw, how long does it take you to draw that minion? Could be a problem sometimes. But
Yep.
since this synergizes just with the hero power, assuming you haven't carried, yeah, it's just a strict upgrade until they've dealt with it somehow. So seems solid for a whole lot of different kinds of paladin.
I mean, if you want to play Dude Paladin, you're playing this. It's the question is there enough here to play Dude Paladin? That'll remain to be seen. But
Well, it's worth noting, if you think about this in Holy Paladin, it just means your button makes a 4/4. Right?
Yeah.
Whenever you want. Just your button is basically always a 4/4 because you're not going to be pressing it all that frequently. You just wait until the thing dies and then you make another one.
well, you want your button to be giving a minion in your hand 4/4. You don't.
Oh,
want
the
to be
carry.
making
Yeah,
4/4.
with Cariel, that can be a little. You're right.
Yeah.
The Cariel thing,
But-
it's. Yeah.
But that happens later on.
But I mean, Carol's going to rotate before this does. So at some point, this will exist outside of a world with Cariel. But that is the problem with any sort of Silverhand recruit shenanigans, is that once you play Cariel, the fun stops, and you get
Yeah.
other fun. But
I
you know.
kind of don't mind. Like, you don't always get Cariel right away, and 2 mana make a 4/4 is pretty good. Like I was saying earlier, I'm fine just playing stuff on curve in that deck. So give me a 3/3 I can play on curve that suddenly they kill it and I have a 2-mana 4/4 hero power. Yeah, okay, it goes away after I play the hero, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's done its job at that point.
Yep. And there's one more Dude Paladin card we saw. Buffet Biggin. 4 mana 2/4. Battlecry summon 2 Silverhand recruits. Infuse 3. Give them +2 attack and Divine Shield. So, worth noting, if you don't infuse this card, it is Grim Necromancer, which was a KFT Arena common, a 4 mana 2/4 that made 2/1/1s. But if you do infuse it, it is a 4 mana 2/4 with 2 3/1 Divine Shields. If you infuse it, so here's the dream curve. You want to hear the dream curve? Edelweiss, hold on to your chair. Okay. Turn 1, you sous chef. Turn 2, you play both the 1/1s, assuming that they all die. Turn 3, you coin Dunbalder Bridge. Then turn 4, you play this. 2 5/3 Divine Shields and a 4/6. That's gross.
And then you wake up.
And then you wake up. Yes. I don't think it's realistic. But coin bridge into this, if you can get it infused on curve, is fantastic. But yeah, it's not going to happen with any kind of reliable frequency.
And this is the class that's going to be best able to take advantage of infuse, at least until they play Cariel, because your hero power makes minions that are intended to die, and you've also got other cards that are giving you Silverhand recruits. So you're going to have plenty of things that you can throw into opposing minions in order to get the infuse to trigger quickly.
Oh, and remember, we still have the 5 mana summon 5 Silverhands. So
Oh, that's in standard? Oh, okay.
yeah, that was
It's
put into core.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
which was very intentional, right? We saw that
Yeah.
and we were like, okay, at some point, Dude Paladin, they're going to give it some support. So, whether it's enough, we'll see. But yeah, just having a deck with more stuff like this, things to do early, because that's something that the Paladin has been struggling with a bit, has been just not a lot of great ones, right? If we can have something that plays well into Dunbalder Bridge and you have all kinds of ways of doing that, it's a strong effect. Going Dunbalder into 5 recruits it's a lot of 3/3s.
Yeah. And the Steward, Rahuing is pointing out in chat, Steward works with this. So if you play
Yeah.
Steward on curve and it dies, if this is infused and Steward is active, then the first one is a 6/4 Divine Shield. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a built-in curve here, right? Of you Sinful Sous Chef, if it dies, you play the 2 recruits, you play Steward. If Steward dies, then the Biggin says what you described. Yeah, it's
And then you
Pretty
drop a
solid
light ray
curve.
behind all of it.
oh yeah. There we go.
So there are 2 other Paladin cards that we've seen. We'll talk about the location first. Great Hall. 2 mana, 3 durability. Set a minion's attack and health to 3. We've seen this before.
Note it does not say friendly minion.
It does not.
Yep.
Also note,
Although
important to reference, it doesn't say Sunkeeper Tarim. There are some truly deranged takes out there that are trying to compare this card to Sunkeeper Tarim. Please stop doing that.
It's not Sunkeeper Tarim, it's Groundskeeper of Uldamon.
Yes. Keeper of Uldamon or Dark Conviction. Somewhere between those two.
Yeah.
yeah. And Keeper was good. Conviction was not really played. So this being somewhere between, it is better than Dark Conviction. It is different from Keeper, right? Keeper, you got a 3/4 body, so that could trade into an opponent's thing that you made a 3/3. But the fact that you get to do this 3 times is quite nice. If you are something, it's flexible in terms of its use. If you're something more controlling, so being able to play it early and have it to set something to 3/3 at some point, great. But also, if you play a Sinful Sous Chef on 1 and then they don't kill it, you say, cool, Great Hall, hit you for 3.
Yeah. Or you just use 2 mana and play it, and you don't have to activate it that turn.
Yep.
Right? So like Dark Conviction would be a lot better if you got to do it 3 times and you didn't have to pay for it on the turn you used it.
Right.
Right. They would be a lot better then. So like I think that this feels like something like, especially with as many decks that are looking to buff a lot of minions early, and this can just kind of say, okay, good, great, you did all that work. Now we're gonna stop playing that nonsense, right? So like, or allow you to be able to trade off, because a lot of the minions that you're getting out of the Dude Paladin end up with 3 attack at the end of it, so it lets you trade something off right away.
Well,
and yeah,
And
theoretically,
say you've got this queued up, and then you are able to use that to reduce something. You can come at him with the Elitist Snob, which is our next card here. 5 mana, 3/4 battle cry. For each paladin card in your hand, you can give it. It gains Divine Shield, Lifesteal, Rush, or Taunt randomly. Since paladins are mostly paladin cards at this point, you're pretty much going to have all of these a lot of the time.
is there protection on it?
Yeah,
Well, I
it
believe so.
works.
Once it gains something,
Works the same
yeah.
way as Ivisor or any
Yeah.
other like pick in the bag thing. These are 4 things in the bag. Once you take something out of the bag, it's not in there anymore.
Okay.
So yeah, it's D Shield, Lifesteal, Rush, and Taunt.
Those are all things
so
you want.
Unity, Precision, Purification. Because you need Paladin cards, but it doesn't have Magnetic, but you get to run 2 of these in your deck. And I don't know. I just envision playing a deck with minions in it and then dealing with this, getting snobbed on curve. And even if this kills one thing and then I kill it back with one single 4/4, my opponent just gained 6 and stopped 7 attack and killed at least one of my things. I don't want to deal with that. I'm annoyed
Yeah.
thinking about it.
And Holy Paladin is mostly class cards anyway. You don't even have to run like an actual pure paladin to get this to
I mean,
happen.
Oh, I'm
Most
evaluating this card as though it's always on. I'm assuming
Yeah.
this card is just always on, period. Even the
Yeah.
minion paladin decks, they play Radar Detector and fill their hand with crap.
Right. Yeah, I mean, hand buff paladin, one of the things that could get you sometimes was not having ways of healing up, and you were sort of reliant on this 1/3 mana 1/4 with the battle cry, deal damage equal to its attack to a minion.
Yeah.
And lifesteal. So this is baseline better than that, if you aren't able to buff it up at all. And also just having another 2 of to give you that effect gives a mid-range deck like hand buff paladin a lot more game against sort of slower things, and I think incentivizes more the sort of generic hand buff pally versus the mech pally, which might be able to run this, but again, it makes Radar Detector worse. You're running more neutral minions, so it's not as solid.
You're thinking about this really hard. I think this incentivizes playing paladin.
Yeah,
Like-
basically.
I cannot think of any paladin deck that would skip this card for any reason
No, it
under
seems,
any
it seems
circumstance.
like it seems like an auto include, except in maybe very specific circumstances. But I'm
I don't
not
know,
really sure what those are.
Mech has been pretty tight, and yeah, every non-mech you add makes Radar Detector worse.
I want to Seafloor Savior this card. Let me Seafloor Savior this. I don't
Well, you do
care.
that in hand buff pally.
You do that in every paladin deck because it just doesn't matter what you do. You just put a snob in. You just snob it. It's and in that coin Dunbalder Bridge deck, by the way, this comes out on 5. Just throwing that out there. Just mentioning that this comes out on 5. Yeah,
I
it's-
think that's a bridge too far, Hat. I think it's a bridge.
we're
too
gonna
far.
we're gonna see this a lot,
yeah.
and yeah, a lot. And I'm looking forward to not being happy about it. All right, so we've got a couple more cards here. We've got a priest card, we've got a rogue card, and we've got a neutral card. 3 cards left.
So I guess you want me to do
Cathedral
the
of
priest card,
Atonement.
huh?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah. So Cathedral of Atonement is the priest location. 3 mana, 3 durability. Give a minion +2/+1 and draw a card.
The flavor text
had
says
yeah.
you'll actually find more than one Tonement here.
I do like that. I had someone on Twitter tell me that they thought that this was boring, and I had to choose my words very carefully because this is actually nuts. Like I don't care what the rest of the cards are. I would take something out and put this into Wig Priest immediately, if not sooner.
You would cut
Immediately.
Handmaiden.
I don't know that you cut Handmaiden because it's a Naga, but
This isn't a
It's still-
spell.
I have
Yeah,
to cut Queen's Guard because those are the 29th and 30th class cards in the deck.
it might
right?
be, yeah. There's some natural tension here by being a non-minion card that also isn't a spell. I think Handmaiden's going to actually be harder to activate, and you're going to see a lot of decks that choose between the two. But yeah, it is a Naga in the Naga deck, so maybe that's a thing.
Yeah.
But you don't want to run into a glut of card draw or a glut of threes. And we already play quite a few threes in that deck with Treasure Guard and Crush Claw Enforcer.
Yeah.
But this is
but-
just 3 cards and stats.
Yeah.
Handmaiden isn't exactly a 3 because you never
You don't play it on
possibly
3, yeah.
activate it
Sure.
by then. I would say I'm kind of more aligned with Steve on this one, where you
Queen's Guard is just kind of sketchy, right?
yeah, that 29th and 30th has just been a little weird, and you can run all kinds of things in that slot.
Yeah.
This, I think, it not being a spell is quite beneficial to that deck.
Absolutely.
Because you won't be finding it on Thrive.
Yes. That's the reason, right? Like it's more card draw, but you're not clogging up Thrive in the Shadows. And there are plenty of times with this deck where you are just drawing off the top of your deck and you just need, like, you just drew a Crush Claw Enforcer and you haven't found Wig and you just need any spell. You don't care what it is just to get through more of your deck, right? So like when you're running low and like you also want to buff minions in that deck, like that's the whole point of the deck. So it's doing like everything you want. It's like we used to run oh god, why am I blanking on the power word shield? Am I blanking on that? The 1 mana 0/2 draw a card?
Yeah,
Is
Power
that
Shield.
Yeah.
Power Shield. Yeah, why am I blanking on that? Like we used to run that in like every combo priest ever because it was cycle. That's all it was. This is cycle. I mean, it's not on consecutive terms, but it's you're drawing 3 cards for one, for one. I mean, it will get a little awkward when you inevitably get the second one because and then you're going to be sitting with it in your hand. But-
Oh no. I've drawn too many
Yeah.
cards. I hit the second location. I have
Yeah.
to wait to play it.
But yeah, I mean that's like the worst possible thing. Or you just play. I assume you can play it and break the first one, or I don't know. Can you have 2 of the same location on the board at the
Actually,
same time?
You
I
can,
I
mean,
don't
yes.
know.
Yeah, you can.
Oh,
They're just
so never mind. Yeah.
they just take up board slots the same way as anything else.
Oh, never mind then. All good. So then you can
Yeah.
just alternate. Yeah. This is. I mean, and like Priest is not really hurting for card draw, but in Wig Priest particularly, like you put every minion that says draw a card in it just to be able to get through the deck. So anything that lets you get through the deck and find the Wigs and the Bless and the Radiant Elemental, like you're going to play those all the time. And I'm sure Board Priest will probably want it too, because Board Priest also wants everything that says draw on it.
Maybe.
Although the
Priest-
list is pretty tight though. Yeah.
And it's more minion light, so
I don't think Board Priest has actually too much trouble drawing cards. It has trouble drawing cards and living and like doing all the tradable stuff. But
Yeah.
you actually kind of want a bunch of opposing minions in play. Because you want to make sure that your gifts draw a bunch of cards with Northshire. But I don't think that we would play it's a little awkward in the deck that doesn't have a lot of minions on curve. Like, you want to be able to activate it the turn you play it usually.
Yeah. And I mean, even in Quest Priest, like it's a 3. I don't know that you necessarily would find room for it. Like, I mean, I'd probably still want Switcheroo over this, but there's also times when Switcheroo can kind of screw you. And being able to get the draw like when you want it, as opposed to when you pay the 3 mana for it, actually could be kind of appealing. Though you need to stick a minion in order to put this on, or end up buffing your opponent's minion, which you'll do, but you'd rather not. Because it doesn't say a friendly minion either. You can target your opponent's minions like right before your Whirlpool or whatever, right, and then still draw the card off of it. So
Yeah.
there's an argument for maybe running this in a Quest Priest or a Control Priest as well.
Oh, Quest
Well,
Priest
and-
is all minions. Like, that deck is all things. You play this in any deck with Samuro, and Quest Priest can play Samuro now. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say Samuro was best when you had a cheap Apotheosis
Oh,
to
yeah.
put on it to it. So being able to queue this up and then you can go turn 4 Samuro with the buff.
Oh, yeah.
really, really great clear. And you know what else benefits from it not being a spell? If we get some kind of Shadow Priest, this does seem like the set to make
Yeah.
more Shadow cards for Priest if that's going to happen. So if they push Shadow Priest in any way, again, no Raise Dead has kind of killed that because you need more cards. Well, this gives you some cards. It's aggressive. It really seems to fit for some kind of deck like that.
Yeah, and not being a spell is also good for Quest Priest because, again, you're not clogging up Thrive in the Shadows with it when you're digging for the Purified Shard.
Yep.
So, before we talk about the next card, which is the Rogue card, so I got it. We do have a couple updates on Remornia. First of all, do you want the bad news or the bad news?
Oh no.
How about the bad news?
Okay, so the bad news is that the Nightmare buff sticks even when she's a weapon. So if you
Okay,
Nightmare
that's not
and then it ends as a weapon, it still dies.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
That's fine.
The worst news is that someone in our Discord realized you can evolve into this.
Oh no,
Because it's a 7-mana minion. So there's
that's
going to
not
be
okay.
there's going to be a shaman that evolves into this, and you're going to be unhappy about that.
Okay.
And I'm
I
gonna be
will
unhappy.
say though, that is a crazy high roll, but on the whole, 7s are trash. So most of the time, you're gonna want to be looking for 8s or 10s because 7s are bad. But yeah,
7s are
someone's
getting
gonna
better
get.
You're telling our
Because they keep
listeners
morphing
that
sixes
that
into sevens.
you're telling our listeners that they're right to be upset about their opponent misplaying and then high rolling them. That's what you're saying. That's what as you throw that out there.
I mean,
No, I'm telling our
like,
listeners, if you're playing Evolve, don't look for 7s because on
Okay.
average they're really bad. It's like
yeah, but
Baron
Smite's
Medden
a
and
7 now too. Like they keep
Smite
all,
is
they
a
keep
seven.
nerfing they keep nerfing the 6s into 7s, right? So like, I don't know.
I
Just
think if
saying.
you look at most of
Can
the
we make this a
7s,
colossal minion? Is there any way to do that so we can evolve it?
It's
Colossal 0, so it can't be summoned.
yeah. Maybe not a just a loss, because that's what you'll get if your opponent evolves into this. It'll just be a lossal minion.
Oh man.
I don't know if 7s are even that bad anymore. Mountain Bear's around too. Like I don't know.
What's ironic is that if it was the last version of Evolved Shaman where we were worried about Bogspine Knuckles, that would actually be bad for the Evolved Shaman because it would break the Bogspine Knuckles.
I mean, air quotes bad. They would still probably be fine. And I
Yes.
imagine that the Horde Pillager getting back Remornia would also be okay. Ugh. Yeah,
But you
I'm
can
all set
sticky
with that.
figure it.
I don't want to think about this anymore. Let's move on to the Rogue card, which I do want to think about. Okay. Sinstone Graveyard. 2 mana, 2 durability, Rogue location. Summon a 1/1 stealth ghost, which has +1/+1 for each other card you played this turn. Ladies and gentlemen, Deadwind Van Cleef. Now, it is more like a Biteweed Deadwind Van Cleef. You get the idea. You get what I'm going for here. I am excited about this card for a lot of reasons. But the main reason I'm excited about this card is because you don't print this card without printing good 1-mana Rogue cards. I'm excited for the support. I'm excited that what the plan is. They play tested an archetype where you're a rogue that wants to play a bunch of cards and then make a giant minion. I'm already here for it. I'm already on board. This is already what I want to be doing. However, the card is also quite good. Card is also strong. If you look at Thief Rogue right this very moment, at this exact moment, what do you do the first 2 turns in Thief Rogue? You're tradable. You use the hero power that you're given. Maybe you coin a Shroud if you're feeling ambitious, but you don't have to do that. But likely what you're going to do is tradable a couple turns, and on turn 3, you're going to play some 0-mana Knolls. Maybe Shadow Step, maybe Prep or Recon or whatever. What if you also got a 4/4 stealth on top of that? That can't be silenced. It's important to note the stats. The minions, the minion will, the number on the card will change size as you play spells, so it tells you what you're getting. It has white numbers when you make it, not green ones. It can't be silenced. So if
it's like when Druid, why am I blanking
Jade
on card
Idol?
names again? No, not Jade Idol. The the one that just got nerfed, the draw 3 cards.
Oh, Miracle Growth.
Yeah, Miracle
Yeah.
Growth. So like that's a like when you summon that, that's a 10/10. It's
Yeah.
always a 10/10.
Or
So
Jade
but if
Jade
you
Idol works
if you
too.
silence it, it stays a 10/10.
It's they describe them as definitional stats. Either way, doesn't matter. Can't be silenced. That's the important part. Except you can silence out the stealth. But say for example, turn 3, Knoll step Knoll. Play this, make a 4/4. Prep Recon Extortion. Play this, make a 4/4. Right? It doesn't count itself, which is pretty important. At least I don't think it counts itself. But it's
No, it
base
says
1/1.
other. It says other on it. They clarified that after they.
The
after
other
they
is
revealed it.
actually, but the other is actually on the ghost, right? Not on the location.
No, I think it's on the. No, it's on the location.
Well, it's the
The
ghost
location
has
says each other.
+1/+1 for each other. I don't know. I don't know if it
I
counts
think it's
itself.
the other. I think the other is referring to the location. Because I
Maybe.
mean, you're not playing. You're never playing the ghost. I mean, unless you're like shadow stepping it, or like scabsing it.
So I'm assuming that assuming the location doesn't count towards the buff. But even so, if you play Prep Recon Extortion and then this, you get a 4/4 stealth on top of that. Knoll step Knoll, any number of things, and you get to do that twice. The reason the Knoll nerf was impactful, and it was impactful, your early minions still die, but then the Knolls don't kill you. They nerf the lethality of them as a standalone threat. You know what's a really good standalone threat? Is a couple of bonus stealth biteweeds on top of what you already want to do in a deck with double prep, double step, and 0 mana rushing minions. The craziest thing that I could think of, the craziest nut draw, turn 1 tradable Cutlass or whatever, turn 2 this location, turn 3 coin, prep, boat, fission. Coin, prep, boat,
I'm already
fission,
upset.
and this, so that's 4 stealth 3/3s and a 5/5. Again, that's a nut draw, and we already have turn 4 prep boat fishing, right? So we already had 12/12, but instead it's 17/17. That's more. That's one less turn that you have to deal with this. So this excites me. I think it's powerful. It would go in Thief Rogue right now today at this exact moment, which is currently playing Peasants. We can move on from Peasant, instead add 2 Biteweeds or whatever.
Yeah.
But also, you don't make this kind of card if you don't have some kind of good support spells. The Door of Shadows, the new rogue spell with the infuse that draws you a spell and gives you a temporary copy. If the temporary copy hits prep, this is enormous. This thing is huge. And there are just a lot of ways that we already have to activate this, plus probably going to add something else that costs 1 mana that I can use with this. Yeah, I'm
And
excited.
you have Edwin still, and Edwin turns. You do a lot
New
of
Edwin.
things.
Yeah,
New
you're
Edwin.
thinking about value. Stop doing that. No, but earlier in the game.
That's my
later in
job. That's why you brought me on the show. is to
I
think
know.
about value.
You offer a lot of value to the show, but you're thinking later in the game. I want blowouts. I want a blowout. That's what I'm looking for here. Later game, this is cool. It's all right. It'll make you some decent stuff, but Rogue doesn't have great draw. And the downside here over Edwin is that you have to play all the combo cards over 2 separate turns. You have to do this twice. Edwin, you could make a non-game with 3 cards on turn 2. Can't really do that quite the same way here. If you're going off with it, the minion is smaller in that turn. If you're spreading it out over 2 turns, you get 2 smaller minions. It's okay later. Solid.
You just shadow step it on the first turn, and then it's gigantic when you summon it on the second turn. That's what happens to me every time I play against that.
With Edwin, yes, but you can't do that
Yes.
here.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying that you don't always play 2 drops on turn 2. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. And you're front loading it. I expect the card to be good. It's just, I expect the impact of this to fall off substantially as the game goes on. It won't be bad. But Rogue is in a situation where, like, turn 6, we're playing, like, 9 cards. We want a few cards here and a few cards there, and this lines up really well with that strategy, and that tends to be more effective early on in the game.
I think the most important piece of this is that it has stealth, because we've seen just how powerful a couple of things having stealth can be. Boat has been one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful card in Rogue during this past meta. I think it's got one of the higher mulligan win rates, which was unexpected to see in a 5-drop. But being able to have something that is very likely to be able to hit for face is exactly what Rogue wants. And so just having another instance of that does scale with, as you said, things you already want to be doing in Rogue, even if they end up dying, getting that first face hit just puts them that much closer to stab tooth range. So I see a lot of the value in this card just making not insane statted, but reasonably statted things, but that have stealth and get to hit face for a turn.
I'm going to be very sad when Zyrella rotates. That's all I'm saying. Because that's the only way I see to deal with this when it comes down.
You could Najak. Be kind of
Not if it's
ironic to.
stealth.
Oh yeah. You have silent stuff. Silence and then
Well,
Najak.
yeah. I mean, yeah, but
It would be kind of ironic to use a rogue card against them.
yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, because Najak Hexen is a rogue card now. Yeah. Let's move on before I get more upset.
Yeah. All right. We have one more card. Sire Denathrius. I have been informed by WoW players that he is known as Big Daddy D. We won't be using that name here in this show, and if you want to listen to this week's The Angry Chicken, just probably don't have your kids around. We got a little blue. But this is a new Cthulhu sort of thing. So, Sire Denathrius, neutral, 10-mana, 10/10, legendary. It has Lifesteal, Battlecry, deal 5 damage amongst enemies. These are missiles like Cthulhu, but they're Lifesteal missiles. And endlessly infuse 1, deal 1 more. So every minion that dies in your hand makes him deal one more missile. Right?
I
And
told
it says enemy, so it can go face.
Yeah. I told you how much I like this mechanic and how flexible it can be in terms of legendaries being able to break the rule. So I'm guessing this will be the only legendary that breaks the rule with the endlessly infused, and it makes sense. It's the marquee legendary in terms of our missing Sire Denathrius. But I love this card so much. I don't love that it's good for Druid. That I don't love. But in general, I was a big fan of Cthulhu back in Whispers of the Old Gods, and this definitely has that kind of vibe as like a big end of game win condition that you potentially build your deck around, right? This one, it's not even a huge build around. You just have to be playing minions, right? Enough minions that you can upgrade it, at least 5. I would say you want to upgrade it by 5 at minimum, so you're dealing 10 on that battle cry. But it's just going to be super sweet to be able to have this as a curve topper on a minion heavy deck.
Yeah, it's a great Druid card.
Yeah.
Listen, we ramp into this with Scale of Onyxia, and I'm going to need some convincing to tell me that it's not a Druid card.
I mean, it has a 10 in the corner, so it's a Druid card by default.
I mean, you still play it in other minion decks.
Would
Do
you?
you?
Yeah, if you're...
I mean,
If
you
enough
play
minions
another
are
minion
dying.
decks. You play another minion deck. It only infuses in your hand. And what
Yeah.
minion deck can you think of has played a 10 in forever?
Mordrish used to be 10.
How'd that
wasn't
work
a
out for
minion deck,
Mordrish?
though.
How'd
Yeah. I mean,
that
when it
work
had
out for
minions.
Mordrish? It's
Yeah.
the last
I mean,
10
look,
I can
I
think
would
of
put
being in a
this
minion
in-
deck. The last 10 I can think of being in a minion deck was Blood River Gul'dan and Zoo. And sir and ma'am, this is not Blood River Gul'dan. This is not. And I don't think either you're trying to tell me it is.
No,
But
I would not presume such a thing.
No, but so I would put this in the Kel'Thuzad mage deck, right? Because that is centered around minions, and you can put this at the end.
Yeah, but I mean, Kel'Thuzad, if Kel'Thuzad doesn't end the game, I mean, I guess maybe Kel'Thuzad's not going to end the game enough that you might need this. Do the minions who explode actually die?
no, they don't infuse.
No.
Yeah,
No.
so those wouldn't count, right? Yeah, so yeah,
It's-
I'm struggling to think of any other
The tension
I
of
guess,
having, like, Shaman. Maybe Shaman if you're playing all the Piranha Swarmers.
Yeah,
Battlecry
for
stuff?
sure.
yeah. When Tempo Mage ran Yogg, I think is the only other time that I can think of.
Well,
And
and
that was-
Shaman can macaw, right?
Yeah, Shaman, the dream here would be to play this and then Bolner Macaw. That would be the dream.
Well,
Yeah.
so hang on though. is it, if you macaw, is it going to deal 5 or is it going to deal whatever you infused to?
No,
It's probably gonna deal
infuse. No, infuse transforms the card. It's like corrupt.
Oh,
so
okay.
the
Oh.
card it is a definitional transformation the same way as the Rattlegore copies change, or like with the Jade Idols, like we were talking about earlier. The card transforms into something new every time you infuse it.
Yeah.
There's even different art for the infused version. It doesn't keep arting, right? Like it just changes art once, but it does actually transform the card, like Horrendous Growth. So when you
Yeah.
repeat this battle cry, it is whatever the number is. That's what the battle cry is. It isn't just 5.
Does Big Beast Hunter ever run this?
They don't really
not
play
really.
that many minions. It's just
They have a lot, but no, they do. They don't play a lot of minions, but they summon a lot of minions. You get a fair number of Hydrolodon heads that die. You have polar bear cubs that die.
But how many are
You-
we
you
talking in total
resurrect
here?
things.
Like, how many minions is this going to see in hand? If you play a Hydrolon and go trade, then they clear, that's 7 upgrades. It's okay.
You also have to be willing to keep this in your hand for most of the game, right? Because, like, I guess that's the other thing about this. That's the reason this feels like a druid card, because what other class is going to keep a 10 drop in their mulligan?
Oh,
Right, 'cause-
well, the thing is, you're not going to do that. You're just going to play Talon and get it like partway through, and then you need to have things that give you the minions towards the end. But I would not discount its ability to be played primarily because Talon exists, so you can consistently get it early enough to start powering up.
Yeah. It's worth
And the
noting.
lifesteal's a big deal as well.
Yeah, it's worth noting the base body is a 10/10 lifesteal. So
Yeah.
it probably won't end games like a Cthulhu did, but if this comes down, if it cleans up the board and lives a little, that's 10 life every turn. If you're playing this against Quest Hunter, it's going to be a nightmare for them. But also that means you got to turn 10 against Quest Hunter. That means they weren't doing their job.
Yeah.
So I am low on this
You
card.
have to 10 mana against Quest Hunter, not turn
Yeah.
10.
I am low on this
Quest Hunter
card.
killing people that fast? I feel like it's a lot slower than it was.
If you draw 2 aim shots, it sure is. Like there are ways to do it, but even then, I'm low on this card. I think this card compares to Neptulon currently. I think it's not too far off. This gains you more health. It's better against more aggressive stuff. But Neptulon cleans up the board quickly and is also a ton of damage the following turn. It's 24 damage attacking the following turn if all the stuff lives. So I think this is probably in a similar niche. You're doing the math right. It's
It's
4
16.
times 2, 4 times 2, plus the
Oh,
hands
because the
attack.
hands get to attack, right?
Yeah.
right, right,
Yeah,
yeah.
the hands
Well,
get to attack themselves. yeah.
Usually the hands don't.
It doesn't
live,
happen
and so
very
it's
often.
14.
Well, we were talking about best case, and you were talking about Magical Christmas Land, right? So-
Yes.
But see, that's where I think it has more of a shot, because this thing, it does something immediately that, regardless of your opponent having a board or not. Whereas the Neptulon, the best case was only getting to clear stuff. And so you're not likely to hit face. But this will hit face if they don't have anything. And
Sure.
it does heal you if you need that healing.
If you're getting to the point where you get to play this and have it do anything, your opponent has a way to remove it, almost assuredly, because you are playing
they can.
against some. Well, if it doesn't kill them, right? You're playing against some sort of a heavy control deck that can, if it can live through the battle cry, the body doesn't matter one way or the other. Either the game is over, or they surely have a way to remove it because they're a control deck that has answers for everything, one or the other.
I think this will fit quite nicely into a shaman because of the macaw potential.
Yeah, Shaman gets to 10
And since
enough, I
there's
guess.
a bunch of minions, right? And I think it will probably make its way into at least one other deck, just because Talon increases the consistency of finding something like this. But no, it's not going to be as universal as, say, Kazakusan, right? But that was another card that both of you
we
were
thought
pretty
that was
low
trash.
on.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think this is trash. I'm sure Druid will abuse this and will be extremely upset about
well, yeah,
it.
Druid is the clear-cut case, right? Because you have
You have
two
Guff.
cards. You have three cards really that summon a whole bunch of rush minions, right? You've
Yeah.
got Double Scale and then Onyxia herself.
Yeah. Plus you have Guff, so this is not necessarily your whole turn.
Well, and you can
As-
Bran it then because you
Yeah.
have Guff. There's a lot of
And
degenerate
it's
You
things.
can
not-
Bran and Zola it if you want to. You can Bran Zola, play Bran, then play the Zola, get 2 more of them. Like there's all
They're
kinds
already-
of disgusting things you can do.
The
They're
important
already
thing is
dead.
not having to wait until turn 10 to play it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's better than Neptulon, but that means maybe Druid thinks about it. And I think that's where we're at with this card, is that maybe Druid thinks about it. I don't care that Talon can get it. I don't want to do this. I don't think that it's... I think it powers up at the same speed as Whisper's Cthulhu, and it's 2022. I ain't got time to play Beckoners of Evil or whatever, and it takes so many minions to power this up in a deck that's running Tail and Fordring. I don't envision that being successful, and if it is, then the format is too slow for me to enjoy it. But I can't imagine this being something that goes in Dude Paladin, for example. Like, there's a little chatter about it in the chat, but think about if you were playing Dude Paladin, and this is in your opening hand, you want to delete and uninstall. It just does nothing the entire game, and if you're playing this from behind against a deck that has pushed you off the board completely, as a minion deck with no burn from hand, who cares? It's just not that powerful, and the missiles, if they get soaked up by minions at all, it's irrelevant, because it doesn't gain you back board control consistently. You need to gain back the life, clear a bunch of small things, because you're playing at a point where there's still small things in play, and then also you need to make sure that the body is relevant for a couple turns. I think if you're playing this in Dude Paladin, it's either too slow in an aggressive mirror, or if you're against a slower matchup, they're happier that you have this in your hand instead of something that does anything.
Yeah, and I would add to that, having played way more games with Cthulhu the Shattered in my deck than is probably healthy, that 30 damage spread across the board at the point where you get to play it is not, at that late in the game, does not go as far as you would think it does. Like, there are a lot of games where I was playing Control Mirrors and Cthulhu was not enough to end the game. And then, I mean, you still have a 10-10 lifesteal that's not nothing, but you're also in a Control Mirror, so they have a way to deal with it. So it's like Druid, when they can turbo it, right, and then do that along with whatever other nonsense they pull out of their hat, sure, I'm with you. It's going to happen, and I'm going to sigh and put my hands on my forehead every time. But I don't know that other decks are really going to be able to make as much use out of it.
I would submit that in the Cthulhu the Shattered case, you are running a control deck that is low minions, so you need to be able to create a scenario where you're dealing enough damage to kill them with those missiles, but you don't have a board because you're not a minion heavy deck. I think that the two of you may be underestimating the strength of Infuse 1, and that this could be something that, like, it mitigates the dead card in hand by having this benefit the entire course of the game. And so if it's really picking up, it's still not something you would keep, right? But if you do get it earlier, you then are just powering up a whole bunch from just any single thing that dies, to the point that it is quite large. And since you are already a minion deck, you get to do something like, I trade my minions into their minions to clear the board, and then I play this. And it got powered up from those trades while you were clearing the board.
There could be something here, and Infuse 1 is a powerful line of text.
Yeah.
I'm just not convinced that the mana cost lines up with the decks that are good at infusing. If the slower decks have a way to generate wide boards, if Druid had, well, it always comes back to Druid.
Druid's going to abuse this. We don't even have to talk about Druid. Druid's going to find a way to abuse this, and we're all going to be upset about it. That goes without saying.
I'm trying to remember older non-Druid decks that would have played this. Like, would Res Priest have played this because you're reborning stuff, right? You're resing and reborning.
You wanted something with taunt in Res Priest, though. Like, it has
Right.
lifesteal, but it didn't have taunt.
Well, you're not resing this. You're resing other stuff and then playing this after.
Yeah.
So, like, because you need the game to go long, and you need to have a lot of minions die, and you need to gain a bunch of life at the end and care about it. So that's a pretty narrow niche, all things considered.
Yeah.
Trying to think of.
So
maybe...
I guess Moist Shaman as built now, right? it runs schooling. You have hero powers that generate totems,
Yeah.
right? And then you have wild paw caverns. You have like a bunch of things that make minions. So maybe there is something there, because that does go to 10, right? That will go to 10 mana, and that is more of a control. So the more I think about it, maybe in that type of a scenario, possibly if there's some sort of like dude holy paladin hybrid, where you're getting a lot of Silverhand recruits and they're all dying, then maybe Denathrius fits into that. But it's like I'm stretching right now, trying to figure out where I would want it, and then it feels like something that I would play like the first couple days of the expansion and then wonder why I was losing so much.
Yeah, I envisioned that to be fairly common, and for it to be on par with Queen Ajara, in that
Yeah.
a lot of people will want to play it and probably will keep playing it, and then it's usually the first cut in every deck that it's in.
But Queen Ajara still does have use cases, and I think this will too, right? Like Queen Ajara has a place in Thief Rogue. It has a place in Curse
Queen
Warlock.
Ajara does now when they nerfed a bunch of cards and added 10 more cards to decks.
And they will
it's-
do that in Nathria too. Like without a doubt, we will have a bunch of balance changes, and we'll get to the point where this is playable. If it's not immediately, that will happen.
Yeah.
There are a few things that I'm confident about in reveal season at this point, but that's one of them.
Well, I think we should probably wind down here, because Edelweiss has to edit all of this audio. It'll be fun. So we're going to call it there. We have many folks who'd like to thank. Check out the thanks section on the website, coinconcede.com. You can find our contact info, show notes, patron information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Or into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede. Like, share, and follow us on facebook.com/coinconcede. Facebook.com/coinconcede. If you'd like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number 3, Doja K, Proby1, Kresh, Cap, Beef Squatch, David P, Fade to Black, Walu, Jeremy T, Bottle Caps, and Lucky. Coin concedes. Edelweiss.
So my coin concede this week is to Blizzlet, who they did a production, I guess is the best word, of
A radio play, maybe.
Yeah, of from the script that Hearthstone released, because if you have been following, they are putting out parts of the story for this set in script format, and I didn't know if someone was going to do this, but they did, and it's fantastic. I can't believe they had such a quick turnaround on this. It was like the day after, or within very short time frame of the script for part 1 being released. They put together this whole thing with different people voicing all these different roles. I think I heard Ray doing the Sire Denathrius, right? From Walk to Work.
Oh, Blister Guy.
Yeah.
Blister Guy. Yeah. Which was hilarious, but also great. So yeah, really, really well done. Some, goofy effects and art, etc. I probably would not have taken the time to read the script on my own. I know it sounds so bad, but I'm a really slow reader. So having the ability to just listen to it was just like so wonderful. And so yeah, coin concede to Blizzlet for putting that out there. It was very, very nice for me.
It was fun. Storm Rage has a wedding this weekend, so parts 2 through 4 will come later, but they will happen. Steve.
So I'm going to coin concede to Raven and Lorinda and Sottle, who are all very nice enough to. I mean, I imagine I made their jobs a little bit easier, but they were all nice enough to shout me out at different points during the Masters tour on Sunday. Quoting some of the research that I was doing against the data. And it's cool to hear yourself mentioned in the official broadcast and know that the stuff that I'm doing and I know that the stuff that I'm doing on Off Curve gets used. Like, I'm not in delusion about that, but hearing that when I take a while, and I took a while on the thread that I put out on Sunday, but just knowing that that's resonating with people, or I guess it was Saturday because it was all like a day before. But knowing it's resonating with people, and it was and it's useful enough to reference, it made me feel good. So I appreciate all of them a lot in general, but I appreciated the shout outs throughout the day. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're famous, Steve.
Yeah, well, infamous maybe. I don't know.
Close enough. Coin concedes to Dr. 3, one of the last podcasts I haven't been on yet. We're solving that this upcoming Tuesday, 10 o'clock Eastern. They're going to live stream it. Going to be a lot of fun. Over
Are they
at,
actually a podcast if you haven't been on it?
Well, I guess I'll ask them when I'm on. But yeah, it's going to be on Donnie DK's Twitch stream that's Dr. 3 with Daring Alkaline and Major Death and Donnie, of course. So it'll be a lot of fun to finally be over there. I'm looking forward to it. And then PC Gamer, I wrote an extra large, actually small by my standards. I still went over my word count, but kept it pretty brief. An article on Prince Renathal that should be going up probably tomorrow. That will just be talking about, I mean, if you've been playing the game, you already understand that it's a very impactful addition to the game, but it's just writing about how it's made the last month of the game super duper weird. So really appreciate the opportunity from there. And that's it. So keep calm and mulligan for Denathrius. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Oh, and one last coin concede I forgot. Eric, who someone named Eric, who actually coin conceded to me on ladder. Coin concede to you, Eric. Coin concede. All right. You can move that earlier if you want.
Yeah,
Or
I
just
will.
leave it there. Okay. I knew I forgot, but I tweeted it, and I added him. It's so weird. I tried to explain this to my wife, but I'm a "the" to some people. Someone said, "Are you the ridiculous hat?" I'm not used to being a "the." I'm used to being an "a."
You are though.
It's true, but it's strange. It's a very
But
strange kind of-
technically, Ohio State University has the trademarked, so you got to be careful on that.
That's true. Sorry, Ohio.
They literally have T-shirts that are just the, because the Ohio State University. I'm just like, how do you trademark the? What the hell? What is this world we live
I
in?
don't know how that works. It's true delusion. It's the hat. The hat is inside me all along.
The hat was the friends we made along the way.
It is always confusing when people show up and they're like, why is Ridiculous Hat not wearing a hat and Edelweiss is wearing a hat?
People got to learn sometime. The world is full of surprises. I gotta fix my camera. I don't know why mine is so zoomed out. There we go. I'm gonna fix this. There we go. It's much better.
2.5.
Crop tighter.
huh?
All
It's reveal season. Tis the
Yep.
season. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump off here. We're going to bring the stream down, but thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And we will see you next week. Will be on Wednesday. Be here Wednesday. I was supposed to mention that, but I didn't. But next week will be Wednesday. See you then.
Bye.